TSM, where they could get knocked out of the tournament. So this doesn't even guarantee safety towards that top 4.
As far as the map pool goes, and obviously what we've got in, they broke it apart a little bit on the desk. Oregon is a very good BDS map. It's not the most out there in terms of how you can stretch yourself as TSM to put pressure onto this map. It's not that it's an entire bastion for BDS, but if they come in with energy, they're usually very good at locking it off and keeping control. I think if TSM can get a handle onto this map and they take this one, as a lot of teams have been able to do, is take their opponent's maps, us finding ourselves in Coast, that's very dangerous to BDS.
It is going to be very dangerous. But we also have to say, BDS in Europe, whenever they were beaten, it wasn't Oregon throughout the regular stage.
Yeah.
Rogue counter-strutted them, like for example. And you can just continue like that. So if there is a map where they have shown to be able to bleed in EUL, well, it was going to be Oregon. You know, we all know that they have spots named after Shaiko, the infamous pillar where he takes down any player that comes down off the back stairs, but also makes sure that no one will be entering from barrels into blue. And as Thatcher and Yana are being banned, that is the start of the banning phase. Both attackers gone. The mirror will be removed as one. Well, sometimes when you do see the Thatcher ban, a Cade will follow, especially with a bottom floor, a basement, which has a couple of hatches that need opened up.
It's very fair to remove Mirror. It's a standard removal on this map, to be fair, but also if it gets through, they've got Geo on TSM, who is a phenomenal Mirror player, and the way that they can kind of swing themselves aggressively around those one-way sight lines, it's terrifying for a lot of teams, so it kind of was a given. But as I said, it's a pretty standard removal. Anyway, Valk gone too. It really limits a lot of that internal play. You can't get too deep with your cams outside of the building. You'll see some standard spots on the windmill or on the corner of a small tower to give you that sort of canopy across the approach on the big tower and the kids' dorms windows. But it just internalizes a lot of the play. You've still got two teams that are good at getting intel. Sometimes they're a little bit loose in suffering the other hand of that, though. And I think that's where this fight's going to break down, is you can choke rotations pretty aggressively at points. And what we'll see on this very first approach towards this basement is control of the staircases most likely. BDS will often put a single player towards Freezer, a single player towards Laundry, and then bring the rest of the push down from the backside of Oregon, from Blue, from Tower. But it's something that TSM, they're a bit familiar with, because they faced it. I mean, they faced this map a lot, and they faced pushes like that a lot.
Now, I was saying before, when we were in the operator bend phase, often when you do see the Thatcher removed, there isn't big opportunity that a Cade on a map like this, where these hatches are important, gets removed as well. And that is, of course, when the Maverick comes into play, and you could open up the hatches like that. You can try and challenge that with Nitros, but the Cade is not there. And that means that BDS is going to be allowed to just use a couple of Excaros to open up these hatches and put some quick pressure down onto the side of TSM. Of course, that might change the further we go and the further we progress in this matchup, but it will definitely be the priority point for them to make sure that these hatches will open up as fast as possible so they can at least put a bit of pressure down.
Well, Bolo is being a bit of a back and forth here on the side of Freezer, but it's achieved that opens up in Tower, takes a Lems as he swings around the back of the door and gets a very early and clean take there. Nobody is in a position to get a bit of revenge or get a bit of response as Shaiko tries to funnel his way down again. We saw Bolo pull back, kind of removed himself from the confrontation here. Maybe knew that there was the double down. There's the drop of the door, and the man, as he was swinging in, very good catch there.
Very good information as well. Just knowing where he is in that case and going for that run out allows you to set yourselves up very early on here. And as a bit of pressure is coming down right now, a drone will be tossed in to possibly get a little bit of information to the side of BDS. They just continue with their work, with their job. As I said, open up these hatches as quick as you possibly can, because you do need it if you want to go for an eventual push. Because it does sometimes come down to a Laundry and a Freezer push, and then, well, one or two players dropping from that back hatch.
So Achieved is dancing with a bit of danger here. Obviously was able to get the man advantage quite early on. They're aware of the pressure coming across the other hatches, but they're also aware of the huge amount of time. So this is construction work. This is BDS sort of putting their feelers in, finding out where they might be able to put a bit of stress down, and as Rafal starts that little bit of an approach, you can see the shift of the bodies of TSM restacking themselves across the floor. They've taken up that spot on the freezer door as well. They've put themselves into a little bit more of a mobile, aggressive state. They're making sure that when they realize where the BDS push was coming from, they're stepping and rotating into it.
Grenades being tossed out here. Shaiko is holding steady. He knows one of them is in freezer, but they need to find an opening, and this grenade is going to have to do that. But the ADS will make sure that that doesn't happen, and Bolo picks up a great kill here. That's a 2-minute advantage now for TSM. Make that 3.
Able to drop it there, and it really suddenly puts Brede and Shaiko in an exceptionally tough situation. Sure, all the hatches are open, but at this point, unless you're just going to try and creep down E-Box, well, Brede does a bit of work on the opposite side, finally finds the first TSM body. He is dancing with danger, but he only has 20 seconds, so he's got to take a hot drop. Wants Brede to get a little bit more depth, but unfortunately time runs out, as does his, and Geo drops that kill with Merc, opening things up for TSM.
Strong opening here. Able to keep back to BDS. Not able really to attack the site to a full extent, as they were being shut down even before some of them entered the building. That is, of course, alluding to the spawn peak, or the run out rather, onto a Lems. He's rappelling up in the big tower and got himself killed there. Yes, they did manage to open up these hatches at some points, but the site was never really at risk. And I think that is something that TSM will be very happy with, as that means their setup hasn't truly been tested for this, well, potential rerun that we would get after the round rotation has been finished. Either way, Kids and Domes will be next on the clock as we quickly rewatch Bolo and his double kill that came through. And we do see a Goyo on the board right now, and a Rooney and a Smoke. It's going to be interesting to see how this, what the setup will exactly look like.
I mean, you play yourself up to Dorms now. As I said, from TSM, that defense, it was very well responded.
Yeah.
They kind of got that early pick, went, right, we don't need to put too much pressure on. We know what they're going to do next. If we try and contest these hatches, chances are we're going to lose. Chances are we're going to drop a body. They get, you know, at worst, or an even body balance back. They waited, and then they found the intel on where the push was coming from and entirely restructured. Obviously left Geo on the backside of Elbow towards the side of Blue, to make sure that they couldn't just slip down E-Box as they tried, and they had that bit of cover. And here, this lineup, this kind of prolific setup of stuns, slows, and aggression, I think TSM is going to make sure that what stays consistent about their game on their defense is entirely their pace response to a BDS approach, which does love a big bit of structure to its initial entanglement of the site.
Let's see BDS here again. Lems, a very forward position, tried to do the same in barrels the previous round just to maybe deal with some utility quickly, but Bolo, entry kill onto Shaiko. That's the second time in a row now that TSM manages to get the opening kill, and well, BDS not really allowed to exit or enter the building at full power, full force, to make sure that they have an opportunity to go for a take here on equal level.
It's hyper aggressive, but it's working so well. Rafal finally finds one early on in the opening minute, but look at the stretch that TSM's going. As I said at the start of this, it's hyper aggressive. They're making sure that BDS are never comfortable. They're not letting them get a handle and a hold on it. He's aware potentially that there's going to be that stretch to the big tower. He's baiting for the play with Merc holding steady, and well, he's not going to hold much longer. Pulls himself back.
There's only 2 more drones available in the pockets of the members that are alive on BDS to try and find some information to put themselves up in a position where they could potentially fight back. And while grenades are being tossed in here, this might actually get Chalet if it bounces the right way. You know, it went just a little bit too deep. And now Rafal on the rappel here needs to get this challenge working if they want to have an opportunity of going in this round. But Brede, in the meantime, for that plant, is going to stick it.
Well, Brede has the highest plants, but Bolo's going to see if he can make sure that stat doesn't get any higher. The spray from Lems is able to find one more. A minute left, and he gets one more. A triple for the man that is so often cited as the heart and soul of BDS. Merc, creeping around the backside, can't get the sliver of the body he needs, and we're in a post-plant situation. Well aware, though, of the corner that it's stuck in, and he's hoping he goes for a slightly wide swing here instead of the narrow courtyard. But Lems with a 4K claws and tugs and pulls BDS into that site.
Very well played there from BDS. They decided there was an opening. They went for it. They tried to get the plan down. And of course, Bride himself got denied just a little bit by the Nitro that came through. But keep in mind, this was a 3-on-5, quickly turned into a 4-on-5 situation where BDS had the man disadvantage after Bolo started it off. They have achieved right here. Might have been a little bit too aggressive trying to go for the peak rather than trying to go for the run out. But they did manage to stick it here. BDS able to draw it. And Oregon, defense-sided map. We have talked about this before. I'm going to pull up the new stats as we speak to see if it should be worrying from a statistical point of view. Of course, there's always two sides.
To me, all stats are worrying.
It's all stats. And, you know,
this
it
early
doesn't
in the
have
day
to mean anything.
Yeah.
But it's always good to have a little bit of a feel of when should TSM be worried for the matchup potentially. Now, one round is nothing to be worried about.
No.
So don't worry yet.
1 for 1. We're so early in the play.
It's 1 for 1. It's only round 3 now.
On a best of 3.
Yeah.
It's very early on in the play day. We are looking at Oregon, which does lend itself to defenders, but you're also looking at interregional conflict, which has been so back and forth.
And unpredictable.
And I think one of the cool stories about TSM and their approach to this tournament, I think is threaded by the games against Makers, is they were taken a lot by surprise by what Makers were bringing on Clubhouse. Then they get to the big stage yesterday, and the lessons that had been learnt from that first engagement were so clear. And it was, you know, it's not that Makers couldn't really get anything out of it. They were able to pull some bits, but the pace was almost consistently TSM's. They had that handle on it. And now we get to see if any of those lessons learned from the conflicts that they've had throughout groups against each other's regions are going to pay off as we get to these sort of death knell, last throw, best of 3 matches.
The pressure will definitely be on for either of these teams. And both these teams have so much experience. Came in as tournament favorites, and one of them will be sent home here today. Maybe even both if the next matchup wouldn't go their way. Ranchiro has the information on one of these players. Excaris will be deployed to try and dislodge the Melusi behind, but I believe, like, yeah, he's going to be staying put. Achieved. We'll be actually rotating out into security. There's an open hatch he can rotate through, so we'll use that gladly.
Yeah, Bolo had just popped down as well. We're seeing slightly more timid here from TSM, but understandably. They realized the site got cut in half by Lems going deep, but Shaiko here, he's dancing dangerously. The confrontation almost goes the way of Bolo yet again, but look, he's kind of bouncing up and down those stairs. You can see off in the distance, the rotate to the main stairs has come through for another player. Achieved is still kind of toying where he wants to go, is in a position to offer the cover, but Bolo blows his way all the way past server and digs himself back into a spot where they might not expect it. He's not 100% sure where he wants this fight, but he's sure he wants it.
2 grenades used from Ranchiro, a lot of damage done onto Chalet, but the life is still there, and Ranchiro now gets the spots out, so they're going to be aware of the fact that he is in security, but the wallbang comes through. Bolo takes down Ranchiro. Again, the opening kill here for TSM. With Shaiko low on HP as well, this might become a very difficult one as he runs upstairs now. He's going to be trying to make something happen, it looks like. They might not be aware of this. They might not expect him to just be on the white stairs already.
Shaiko, he gets dropped by Achieved. He was just on his way back to site and handed the freebie of the man that crouched up those white stairs. Rafal is in a very tricky situation. No grenades left and consistent pings, and last time it was the deep drive that was able to get that diffuser close to being planted. Alem is going for a different approach, a wider rotate here. Potentially wants to just find one body underneath before they go around the backside of Zulu and see if they can acquiesce themselves into the site itself. But it's Bolo that is the one that's able to win it out. He's holding this bit of turf and territory and saying no one else is allowed to step foot in it. 10 seconds on the board. Bride still has a staircase to climb, which would take the time anyway, so at this point he's just looking for an exit. It's Bolo, one more maybe gifted from the hatch, but TSM, their caution has paid off and they take the second trip round dorms.
Time used there by BDS, as there was no way that Bride was going to be winning that from that bottom floor. Most likely using it to discuss a couple of things as they keep on getting caught off guard by the early aggression that TSM manages to bring to them successfully as well. Always it's 1 or 2 kills going the way of TSM early. And it's up to BDS to try and recover from that. And that's not how you want to start a few rounds. You do not want to start in a recovery run. So they got to make sure that they stop that from happening, that they take the initiative themselves. They want to have a good and decent attacking health, that is.
These are two teams that are exceptionally talented. There's no two ways about that. Every team here is. But these are two teams that are sort of renowned for the players. They've been steadily constructed over time. You can thread the sort of trios and players when they're added and how it's changed and shaped them to what they are. It's a build over time to the juggernauts that we expect now. But even amongst all this massive talent, there's still arguably a renowned fragger on both teams. There's still, for all that everyone can do, there's always going to be that Bolo and Shaiko conversation, as was brought up on the desk. And their energy and how much they're able to bite into a game, I think is going to be one of those tells of how this goes around the structure. It's the confidence. And Bolo is 6-2 after the opening 3 rounds. Shaiko hasn't been able to find anything yet. And you worry if that keeps becoming a one-sided affair, if it keeps becoming this, I cannot pass this player, if that might start eating away at a little bit of BDS.
It's basically the story we've had from BDS so far, right? Shaiko not really able to get into the tournament as well as he would like to. Other players on BDS really taking the charge, and you're thinking of an LMs and Renshiro and Everyday with the massive amount of plans, honestly. Not even sure how he does it. He tried to go for one here, wasn't allowed to get that, to pat those stats, but either way, BDS this time a little bit more heavy towards the blue side of their approach, and flashbangs are being tossed in to deal with the magnets that might be out there, so Geo just tosses a new one in to deny a potential grenade or charge from Ash that would be tossed in to try and deal with that wall.
Rafal in the meantime is droning around the back stairs to see if he can spot Geo, but for the first time, they have the opening frag. Renshiro takes a huge amount of damage, and he gets a second for the effort dug deep, but he can't get a breath of Charles Smoke right now, who pops it early to make sure they have something to restructure themselves around. A fully fledged 5-body push towards the backside of blue and tower. They realized that what was going wrong before was they weren't able to get any land. They weren't able to do the long setup that they wanted to. So let's get aggressive. Let's meet them on the door with all of us and swing our way around. Shaiko and Rafal find one more apiece and achieved. Who opened up this site the last time round is the last site that they might see right now, slips back. But it's the swing of the blue elbow that is able to put BDS at back level and give them that flawless.
Sometimes it can be so simple in Siege. As where first off in round number 1, they try to go for every hash, they try to go for the top control, and they started pushing in from many different angles, and it didn't really work out for them. LM's taken care of by Achieved within 30 seconds of the matchup, really. And then they decide to just bring it back to basics. Let's go for an elbow push. Let's go for a blue push. We can outgun them if we try. And exactly with that grenade as well. It was a bit of a team kill almost coming in right there. That would have been very unlucky, by the way, because Renshiro had a grenade in hand.
That would have been so dangerous. Like, getting that close to a smoke.
That as well. But I believe
you would only do that on LAN.
you would only do that.
You wouldn't do that online.
No, but like, he also got shot in the back by a teammate, almost lost his life for that. If he dropped the grenade because he had one in his hand, that could have been a double team kill or something coming in. So, you know, that is just a small mistake that was avoided there by BDS. Either way, 2-on-2 is the current score. BDS bringing it back to basics for that final push we just saw and worked out quite well. Of course, it's not something you can continue doing, because if you start doing that, all the utility will be pushed towards those default and standard takes. Now, we are going kitchen dining. Kitchen meeting again. Yes, sorry.
It's all right.
I saw it. I just said dining.
I know. It's the old style of Oregon that still gets you. No, this is the other split. Kitchen is the side across the board, but it's the extension of whether you go to the left and to the right. It's still a very back and forth across most of the regions. I think in EU there's a slight bit more preference for kitchen dining. But over this tournament, I feel like we've seen a little bit more of meeting overall. It's
we've seen 8 more rounds of meeting indeed.
Yeah, so you lock off stage, you make sure that they don't have that quick access around the backside. The kitchen corridor that screams its way down to the back line of the tower becomes a pretty aggressive site, but Shaiko in the meantime, he's knocking on the double door. There's a body above inside trophy that's ready to rotate round towards the support of the hatch of Attic, which you can see one other player already set up by. Machala in the meantime just drifts his way on past Shaiko, takes his head off and restructures on a closer corner before realizing, oh no, there's a Maverick there.
Yeah, now some X-Cars will be used as the Mew Jammer has been taken care of. Oh, that's Bolo really aggressive right here, picks up a kill and is allowed to escape, even though that the stun from Elems came through. And now the second comes in, it's Chalet to swing around, gets the double kill himself. It's only up to Renshiro, well, it's only up to BDS now as Renshiro drops. And it looks like TSM is looking to respond to a flawless round by a flawless round themselves.
Well, it's a very tricky situation there. That was exceptionally punished by TSM. As soon as they got that opener on Shaiko, they manipulated themselves into this situation of, okay, well, we brought this body that was above round to the back line, and it was a risk that Bolo took, but it paid off, and that's this game. Lems, he had the opposite. He took a risk and he tried to bury deep and get the trade, but Chalet was still holding close on the split corner, was able to pick up a very easy take there. And from that situation, they were just, well, met by their own, I guess, meter that they were able to put down in the previous round. Another flawless, 2 in a row, 1 for each team.
But TSM just slightly in the lead again here on map number 1 of the do-or-die matchup for either of these teams. Both would like to continue. Both are tournament favorites. Both have these storied superstar players. Bolo and Shaiko. One a little bit more active than the other currently. Shaiko didn't really have the best game so far. Again, the opening death right there was a beautiful shot, that's for sure. And Bolo really showing up huge so far. 7 on 3.
That was a bit of a mistake there. I think one of the things that you really notice about TSM's style is they're always active. They're always moving around. They're always trying to find new angles and new sort of places to hold. They don't sit. They don't wait. And they don't get, I guess, not complacent is the word. They're looking for activity. Whereas BDS on their setups, where they're being punished, like Shaiko was holding that and waiting for success.
What I think BDS tried to do is open up the wall, because you saw them get rid of the Mew Jammers so they could maybe open it up with X-Caro. So what I think they wanted to do is just go for a very quick plant. In that case, you only need lobby control. You need to have the overline sight, because you can just dig in deep right next to the split door. And you had the opportunity to go for the plant there, but TSM well aware of that. We're harassing them from the hallway. We're harassing them from in the site. And, well, I cannot help but think if Shaiko would have been able to pick up the kill on Chalet, that would have been the support in meeting gone. That would have then been able to open up and go for the plant and split. And then suddenly, it would have been a very, very quick retake for TSM that had to happen. Either way, they managed to shut it down before it could even happen. And that means they are in the lead. And now on their final defensive round already for map number 1.
So this is an adaptation now. Lems is going to dig his way underneath. They want to try and pull apart Achieved and Bolo. And they've tried it with kind of lateral pushes over the past 2 times. We saw Lems suffer inside Zulu. We've seen the suffering from the shower side. So instead, go underneath. The concern right now is this loose player is Merc, who hasn't really been tested too much during the holds and during the attacks that they've had around dorms. He's always on that split between Attic and the connector there of the closest side. Goes for the X-Kairos, the C4. Make sure it costs a lot of utility. It's a bit of an exchange, but TSM, they're locking down. They're making sure that this is their precious bit of resource.
Now another set used here to make sure they flush them out of the kitchen. That is the entire goal here. They want them to drop through these hatches, but Bolo not having it yet. Lems still has a Claymore in hand, could decide to just put it down there as Lems now goes up the stairs, loses the gunfight. Bolo with a double yet once again. Dispatches BDS in their attempt to try and clear them out of security. And TSM, that is a good man count lead now.
Hell of a game so far from Bolo, and he's still sort of looking for more. He's not resting. It's Gio, though, that gets Rafal, and this lockdown around the server side, around the bottom of White Stairs, has been phenomenal when it's been kicked into gear. The only time they've been able to slip past, well, was the split when they just dug themselves into sight here, and Shiro drops Bolo inside. Can't get the lock off, and with still Achieved just on the corner of the kitchen waiting for this swing. Pre-fires, pops the angle. There's pressure from above as well. I said this was the resource they wanted to keep. And Achieved is cooking up a storm. BDS in the meantime has slipped his way up White, but he doesn't get any further. There's 3 flawless rounds in a row, 2 of them at TSM's favor, and a 4-2 demanding half on their defense on Oregon.
A 4-2 is what you would expect a Oregon half to look like. But you cannot help but think that these two teams would be bringing it a lot closer than it might be. Because TSM, truth be told, have been in charge of the defensive half. Except for the 2 rounds they lost. When they lost pretty badly as well. But when they won, it wasn't even close. They won with such a giant lead where BDS just had not a single opportunity to try and reply. And now they will be going over to the attack. 6-pick from Ash to Ash will come in. You don't see it, but I'll tell you. And they are going to the basement as well. Yeah, I'll let you know. It's a very, very 300 IQ play. Merc from Ash to Ash.
Is that classic? Chalet, the respectable young man.
That is Chalet, the respectable.
That's maybe one of my favorite interview quotes. I don't know why it gets to me so much. If you missed, there was a really good pre-game interview with Project Man.
Yeah.
And he was asked the light-hearted question of who's the class clown of the team? Who's the clown of TSM?
Yeah.
And he said, all of them apart from Chalet. Chalet's a respectable young man.
Chalet appreciation coach.
Chalet.
You know, like just Chalet. So that's it.
To be fair, though, for calling Bolo a clown, I mean, he's making a mockery right now out of this Oregon. He has been all over the place. The pressure is onto them, though. As I've said before, I love TSM's movement. I love how they're being so fluid in terms of their holds. You can see that BDS is trying these different approaches, as I sort of highlighted. But now we get to have the full taste of what's it like on their attacks. Are they going to try and dig themselves in? Are they going to, you know, wait and hold the space that they need to? We've complimented their attacks and their drone game before. It's been very good at highlighting certain players and only really punished by Latin American teams. Right now, though, it's starting here around the backside. Achieved is making quick clear work of the top as they're popping and letting this hot drone go around the corner and swing. You can see one BDS body is actually rotating back up, I think, to offer some support to Lems. It's trying to get some, I guess, hold, but they're not 100% sure where to do it from as of yet.
I really like the pass that they placed in the middle of the hallway, and many might say, why would you place it there? That is going to be dying, but it's just to slow down droning. It forces the player of Merc to take care of that pass before the drone can move on, and it just buys you an extra 10, 30 seconds. Like, it was never supposed to catch a drone there. It's just to stop the drones from potentially moving in. It's basically like a mute jammer in that case. Whilst BDS managed to waste a minute. There's still a bit of a roam going on in the big tower, and as drones are being taken care of, they should be aware of the fact that there is players around as Achieved. We'll be looking to maybe catch one off guard.
I guess they're measuring everything up. We're seeing them set up pretty heavily for a freezer. I think they've read how much is dedicated over to tower, how much of BDS is sort of set up shop there, and it means that they can't have the cleanest rotations. They want to cut off this body. So they're going to sort of, I guess, pop the grenade around the corner first of all. It is a very dangerous game. There's explosives in hand. As soon as Achieved finds the corner that he thinks Renshiro's in.
Can he not see him if he steps a little bit more forward? Oh, okay. I was going to say, like, you might be able to see him there as Nitro gets tossed down. Not dealing a bunch of damage, though, but pressure from below will now be coming in. Grenades and, well, the pressure from Bolo as well. The impacts from below. That is suddenly a double kill here for TSM yet once again.
Merc, in the meantime, took a Lems at the top of Freezer, now around the backside, so they can start their approach around the corner. It was a very good take. Ooh. And there's Shaiko, able to find Merc back and offers them a little bit of a solid behind the rest of the site, as otherwise you could see TSM's claws were enveloping all of the 3 major staircases. Now, well, it's only 2, but it's also only 30 seconds. So TSM have to start their approach. A lot of time was spent getting rid of the bodies inside tower. It's what you can build with it still. 3 frag grenades, though. Now it's going to be 2, and that one doesn't quite have the reward it wanted. Goes close around the back of the shield, and they're looking to clear that pocket of space onto Laundry. 10 seconds, and Shaiko sprays around the corner of one with Rafal, locking off on the backside of Blue. It's suddenly a triple for Shaiko, and it's suddenly just Geo against the world. Cleaned up inside Laundry. And BDS hold on.
You have a 3-on-5 situation here, and then you're like, all right, normally you should be good. But then you realize there is a reason why we have a Shaiko spot on Oregon in the basement. He just flows from the freezer, grabs a kill, goes back to the pillar, puts down some pressure, realizes the Banshee goes off, so rotates back around through the hallway to pick up the kill onto the sledge. For him to only go back to his oh-so-famous pillar to grab that final kill. Very well played here, by the way, I have to say, from TSM. The clearance on the big tower. They tried to isolate him. They managed to find him. And beautiful shots coming down from TSM as well. But just Shaiko on this map, on the fence, A completely different beast compared to what we've seen on the attack. In one round, he managed to get more kills than he did over the entire attacking half.
He's got to have a moment to show up. The turn of the half, obviously going onto your side on your preferred hold. You have this knowledge. Oregon on a 4-2 split isn't the most uncommon. The worry was, I mean, the momentum that TSM had built up. 2 flawlesses in a row. It was a response where BDS seemed puzzled on how they wanted to try and get into the site. This time, the approach from TSM was very well maintained in that they knew that they wanted to take every fight as they did. It was a lot of thinking, a lot of tinkering with the take on Renshiro in the top of the tall tower. The Princess fell at the end, but it took a lot of attention away from the rest of the game. It took a lot of attention away from that final push. You saw Achieved go for a massive rotate after that, all the way down to the freezer side. That's another 20 seconds. That's another big blow towards your actual execute, and push came to shove. The player had confidence and sort of was able to battle back.
Well, you know, it is indeed unfortunate you have to rotate with that little time left, but you do really need to get control of Shaiko. You need to shut him down, and the best way to do that is to put in some pressure from that basement, from that freezer. And as I believe Achieved just saw a man running into security there. There's Rafal, whose position is now known and has to be careful to not be taken care of, as we know how deadly of an assassin Achieved can be. If we look back at the Makers game yesterday, snuck in, got a kill, maybe even 2, and then snuck back out to follow himself up with the actual execute spot.
So we never really saw this approach from BDS, which is taking over Attic and clearing that back avenue as well. They didn't take it as aggressors, but it's a pretty common approach here, so they've been more than aware and set up for this. You can see that there's a body in a position just on that split of the door towards the trophy side to make sure they can swing around. It is an entirely focused here. I think the rest of the work is being done towards walk-in. It's just Achieved, really. That's this backline to make sure nobody can swing up white stairs. There's 2 bodies here, and Lems is the one that's looking for the confrontation, but they're sort of in a position of, well, they're steadily opening things up. How long can we wait before we have to react and have to move? That's when Achieved will spring in.
Rafal there in a good spot and finds Achieved. He rotated into the dining and manages to find the first initial kill. And that means BDS now no longer will have to worry about the western side. Just worry about the master bedroom, worry about the attic, because that's where the attack is coming from. And surely they know that, as well as the Nitro there will be shot out. Not successful. Bolo will live for now.
Well, they have that little bit of an entrance, but they're still swinging around the side of the top of white. They still have Attic as far as we can see, and they have those bodies underneath with that C4 in Alem's hand to swing towards the default plant spot. They're aware of that hole, and that's the danger here right now, is without clearing one more of these avenues, if they try and go default, they'll get dropped by that C4. If they try and pull a little bit further towards the wall, they'll get dropped by either the swing from Attic or the swing from the opposite side. They need to see if they can work out which one of these members they can get rid of, but that shield is making things so tricky and so dangerous. Here comes that debonair dive, and there it stops. The smoke canister played perfectly, but Gio realizes he doesn't have a choice. He's going to risk the man on white instead and hope the smokes are enough to cover that rotation on the split side. The confrontation is exploding all over, but there's that C4, and there's Brede. There's a posted plant, but it's Rafal that clears his way back through. It's Merc. In the meantime, is able to actually drop around the backside. They know roughly where he is. It's who gets the fight first. It's Renshiro, and it's BDS back even.
Have to say, really well played there for BDS. Yes, even TSM managed to get that plan down. It was a 2-on-3 post plan, but as soon as they realized, all right, the last man is inside the kids, everybody's holding, everybody's standing still. Hold the doors, hold the rotations, don't let him get out. Wait for the third member to rotate back up so we can take this fight at the best possible way. And as then he goes aggressive, of course, does get picked up, and we find ourselves in a tactical timeout now. TSM at 4-4. They need to talk. They need to find out what's going wrong. Make sure that they are going to be able to pick up some rounds now, because they do need it if they want to secure themselves at least in overtime.
I would say what we're seeing here from BDS is a very different defensive style to what we saw from TSM. TSM were active. They were mobile and they were being hyper aggressive at points. They did pull back on some of those when it didn't work quite so well, but they were making sure they were always in fresh spaces and spots. BDS is much more, I would say, structured. They are holding their own, and TSM aren't testing that directly as BDS were. They're not sort of digging themselves in. You can see the cogs whirring, and they're taking a bit of ground here and a bit of ground here, and it boiled down to this situation where if they'd have been able to get one more body, if they'd have maybe approached in a similar way to BDS did, where they dug themselves in entirely underneath, took the fight there, and then went up and then tried to, then that's just one of those three problems. It came down to 3 crossfires. They took, in that situation, I would say the right decision, smoked off the top of white, and then tried to dig themselves deep.
It was.
But I'm saying it's successful, and that was the only way that they didn't get insta-killed. The other ways, it was likely. Not definite, but likely.
They didn't have the... Let's just say they didn't have the manpower to make that execute work 100% of the time. But they still went for it, and they still managed to get the plan down. It's just unfortunate that BDS still had replies left. They still had smoke canisters that chipped away so much of the HP, which makes it really hard to, well, play out that post plan afterwards. They still had a Nitro that picked up one of these players who was supposed to be the cover for the actual diffuser carrier. Oh, yeah, you luckily have then the one man pushing through for Matic, able to pick up a kill as well. Maybe actually even 2, I believe, also took down Shaiko. But you're still in a 1-on-3 in that case, and that's not going to be helping you out. So still a very valiant attempt here for TSM, a respectable one. Just unfortunately for them, they did not have the utility or manpower or even the time to bait out all the utility before they decided to stick it. And now the tactical timeout has ended, the prep phase has ended, and that means we're back in the round, back in the action phase with BDS now on the third site. See if they can complete the rotation, or if TSM will interrupt it just momentarily.
Well, in a strange way, it's the most important one. And I understand why they took the technical timeout now rather than after they'd found themselves closer to map point. Is if BDS took this with the momentum that they'd been able to build over the previous 2, then they're, 2 rounds away from winning it. And then they're back with their full site rotation. They're back down in Laundry, and then they're up to Dorms. If TSM can take this, they know that they still have to go back to Laundry, and they've still got to go back to Dorms, whatever happens, but it won't end the game that way round. If they can get this one instead, and they can have a greater chance of not just success from the team talk, but also they have that backup in case things, start to get a little bit dicey when we're back down to sites that they've already been unable to take away. Here, though, the takeaway is across the top. A quick push with the split coming from either side. It's a little bit of damage, but nothing too big as Bolo drones their way across the top of Attic. They want to clear this heavy hold. Charla is covering the rotation. There's an edge up at the bottom of White Stairs. There's Achieved creeping his way up. He is yet again playing this backline role, but it's a much more dangerous swing if any of the BDS players get a little bit hungry.
Good ping coming through, but the drone will be taken down by Bride, who is playing below, and that means that the information will now be outdated. The Chief will know there's still a player there, and will be trying to get a grenade in far enough, but I believe the rotation's already coming around as Merc is trying to take the gunfight here, failing to do so, however, but DSM still able to come out on top as they take 2 compared to the 1 from BDS.
They lost the opener, and LMs drops 2. Achieved is able to get 1 more there, and suddenly it's a very isolated situation. Bride swings around the bottom of White, but Charla is looking for a bit of revenge. Goes a bit too late to actually get the pop-off, and they have bigger concerns right now. It's a man that they're hunting through the floor. The cover comes back. The fire goes to Bolo, though. Drops the man and swings for 1 more down Attic. And a very necessary round for TSM.
Bolo light on his feet, able to dance around the pellets that were being shot in from underneath. With that, able to survive, able to take down Bride, who has a big clutch potential, a big clutch factor to his name. And after that, the instant kill into the player on Attic as well. And now TSM find themselves at a 1-round lead as we are heading into round number 10. As I keep on saying it every single time, we find ourselves on a 4-5 scoreline. And round number 10 hits an important one, because TSM has the opportunity here to secure themselves 2 match points, whereas BDS has the opportunity to bring it back to a draw and make sure that round 11 will be the one that decides who is going to be under so much pressure for map 1.
That was a very big moment there, as you said, danced. It's like the floor is lava.
Or shotgun pellets coming out.
But
those spikes, you know, that just come out.
And you've got to try and dance around tiptoe and then take a fight elsewhere as well. Yeah. I mean, he's having a hell of a game, and we've already said that a couple of times, but he continues to keep sort of plundering and billowing his way through the blusters of BDS. 5-4, TSM. Your tactical timeout has led to success, but as I said, this is where things get dicey. You're back on these two sites. At least you've put that buffer in. Regardless of how these two, if they go against you, you've still got one more opportunity with a site that you just took very well, but also you just took a site very well. You've got that momentum. You've got that energy. You've been able to find something on your attacks, which previously it was looking less and less likely.
To see that blitz, this might be a quick push down to elbow, something we saw BDS do quite successfully themselves as well. Luckily for them, there's a shield setup, there's some ADSs, there's a smoke that is playing, but if you're not quick enough with deploying these smokes, the blitz might already be in your face by the moment that you're able to reply. First order of business is get rid of that Banshee. If you do not get rid of it, the whole push will fail. And that means they need to get a grenade or Bolo in position, or Merc, to get rid of that Banshee. They need some form of explosive or destructibility. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to make that push happen.
Bolo, you can see, was heading over to tower. There is a big roam from BDS currently really far away to the depths of Freezer. Here comes the bit of the noise. Here comes that giveaway, and here comes the step up. Merc took care of the Banshee, you assume, as the Blitz is tiptoeing around the corner. We are waiting at this moment to see what gets brought over here from BDS, but the double stack on the tower, the pressure of the grenades round to the side of the back of E-Box and Shaiko, and there he goes. Geo digging deep and taking control of elbow, taking control of blue, drops the ADS, and it's the swing of Bolo down the core of long, a triple fed to him by a team that did not expect it. Renshiro, he's got an important fight that he takes, gives him a little bit of the backline, but there is TSM taking control, sweeping aside the hold from before and setting themselves up one round away from taking BDS's map.
I said it, they were setting themselves up to go for a quick take, for a quick push down to blue. And Bolo allowed to move through the door, allowed to move in to the hallway and get a triple kill all on his own merit there, whilst the Blitz are trying to push out BD from a potential spot where he could be dangerous to that push. And normally what you do see is that a smoke is playing on that shield. However, this time around, not the case. And that means that he's always going to be too late to try and stall that push, to try and slow it down as Bolo here. 1, 2, 3 as they line up. Puts TSM onto a match point. Not just one, it's two. 2 map points here. 2 opportunities to secure themselves the first map, and that means having the opportunity to close it out on Coastline without really being under pressure.
They were able to punish the placidity of BDS. They were complacent with their holds, which, to be fair, if you're secure in the knowledge that your holds are going to do well, you're in a good situation. But there, the late movement back in, the sort of surprise startle of they're already an elbow, we've got to try and get there. Oh no, now they've been able to flood in. They were able to take over so much land. It was frantic and slightly out of position. And this was the punishment that TSM weren't quite able to make happen before, because they were hoping for a slow build and slow burn. You can't rush every single time. That's a wake-up call that you, I guess, as a BDS fan, hope has shaken them a little bit more awake. It's up to TSM now to prove otherwise.
It is definitely. I believe BD will be playing closer to the elbow now, just in case that the challenge actually comes through, but the challenge is elsewhere. It's Achieve that will be pushing through and trying to take control of the bottom of white, as he was challenged just ever so slightly by Lems. He's not had the big pop-off game yet, but neither has Shaiko. Neither has BD. None of the BDS players had the pop-up game, just like Bolo is right now. 17 on 5, the man is currently going as Lems gets taken care of Merc with the entry kill. This might be very good here for TSM in round number 11.
What an opening, what a man to get rid of a Lems who's so often the beating heart of the team, clawed BDS into their first round, and here could be the first off the board in their last on Oregon. TSM, they're not looking this in the mouth as of yet. They're steadily droning out again. coalescing this intel and this body advantage. I complimented them about it on their defense. They're not one to throw this to the wind. Sometimes Merc can get a bit aggressive, but it's your entry role. When you're on attack, it kind of comes through in successful ways, as we've just seen. But here is this fall. Here is this approach. Here is this stack up. And with a minute 20, I mean, they have all the time in the world.
It's plenty of time indeed, as Gio will be making sure that all these hatches get opened up, and Chalet will do his own work as well with the Maverick, with the blowtorch, making sure Electric will be under pressure. And now you cannot help but think that TSM is going to go for a synchronized push, a synchronized drop, and going to be trying to outrun BDS. There's one thing that might be... standing there, just move. Okay, I was going to say, like, were you so convinced that you can stay there? But of course, it was the cover that came in to make sure that those X-Cars wouldn't last.
Rafal is looking to where the first fight might be, but it's a spread of every single angle and direction. There go the Banshees. The door won't scream too much, but everything else is starting to explode into shrapnel either side. It's the pinch and the push and the pressure with the single body of TSM on the far side. They still have that stretch of Chalet. He's making sure they can lock down against Freezer and draw some BDS attention away, but Bolo is going to be potentially the first movement and momentum here. The swing comes through around the back of the pillar. Shaiko suffers, scratches. He's able to survive 20 seconds, and the double starts the spread. That is all the pillar falling, and that is that flood of TSM bodies overwhelming the backside. They knew you were there, and now they know that it's just Renshiro left on the backside of Freezer. Bolo is taken care of. It's a 3 versus 1, but the swing is Merc, and the map is TSM's.
The Nitro not able to catch through, wasn't even going to be able to detonate it either, as it got caught off by TSM, who take map number 1 here. The tactical timeout really coming into play. Able to put up a beautiful rush as well on that basement and that first attempt. And now TSM leading 1 map to 0 over BDS with a 7-4. Amazing.
It was a heck of a game. It was a great performance, and it was a lot of energy that BDS really needs to find some of that before we go into Coastline. But before that, we'll throw it over to the desk, and they can tell us their favorite things.
Thanks so much, M and Hap. You know, you two are some of our favorite things in this world. Here we are on here, Ace and Des. We were watching the game attentively, and in the beginning, TSM looked like they had BDS's number. BDS fought back, but then the North Americans swung wide.
It looked for a brief time like there was something in the second half there, Race, but that first half entirely TSM's. We were kind of commenting on it because we had the glory of having a top-down view on our second screen upstairs, and it really began to shine and show where there was misdroning from BDS, where there wasn't cohesive pushes coming together. The 2 rounds they won, one solidly off the back of Alems, the second one coming in through them walking into blue and collecting 5 kills. But for TSM, playing off each other, the strength of Bolo playing inside of security around White Stairs, for example, the extended plays just constantly giving BDS to think about as soon as they got anywhere near the building were absolutely sublime. And this was the TSM that we've all been wanting to see. We saw glimmers yesterday, but today is absolutely in full force. And in my mind, the score doesn't reflect how strong a slamming that was of BDS on BDS's map pick.
Well, I think that's the key point, isn't it? You know, that's Oregon. We expect BDS to come out and be really strong there, but TSM have just absolutely dominated almost every round. BDS have had some, of course they have. They're always going to have. They're a good team, but TSM, there was one play for me particularly. It was in the first, I think it was round 3. There was Bolo established inside of security. It was a top floor, and the almost entire fight happened in security and kitchen. Bolo and Achieve just absolutely locked it down. 2 go into Bolo, and he kills both of them, no problem. But then, the heads-up play from TSM. They bring Gio down from Classroom, and they just bait in a 3rd man to push onto Bolo, thinking he's almost dead, surely we can get him now. And Gio pops around the corner and says, I'm here for him. And he's got his teammates back. It was just brilliant.
They
from
make
TSM.
it look easy.
They really did. It was brilliant.
It looks beautiful when you get to see it, right? Plus, timing, the amount of timing that it takes, you need to get the drones if you're on the attacking side to get the information. Definitely something that BDS were not profiting as much out of in that specific moment that you're describing. We're watching and saying, no, why are you walking one after the other? And then TSM go on the attacking side, and they slap the same way. It just keeps on giving. There it is, 7-4 for TSM.
Look at that.
In Oregon. Bolo on top, 18-6. Incredible from the player and from the team overall. Bolo was taking everything away from Chalet.
I'm scared of Bolo, and I'm stood on the desk, Milosh. I'm scared of him right now.
I mean, at the start we were saying Shaiko, Bolo, the two players that you look at and go, they need to get something under their belts in terms of a world championship. He's making a stake for it today. The number of times that he was getting both a Lems and Shaiko on the entry was ludicrous. Absolutely demolishing them time and time again.
When does Bolo play?
He is?
The start of this map,
here?
apparently.
When does Bolo play?
Bolo is definitely playing in this one. Now, Derry, you wanted to talk to us about a very specific play, a very specific round, so please, onto the telestration station you go.
Like I need an invitation, Milosh. I really, really want to talk about the round with the Blitz Rush, because that has been kind of a Dark Zero special for the longest time, right? They've had Mint running it time and time again. And this, I think, was TSM's time to say, you know what, we can do exactly the same. And my God, do they play BDS like a fiddle. It is something spectacular. At the very start of this one, they're kind of all gearing up around playing inside of construction, and you start thinking, okay, then cool, they're holding up, you know what's coming here. For BDS, currently not expected. They still got 2 or 3 players hanging off down towards Freezer, so as things stand up, not looking the cleanest, you might say, they're all on the wrong side of the map. Where I will give some credit across to BDS is things start shaping up well. They rotate everyone back over as soon as there is any kind of suggestion that someone is going to come in and there's some kind of crazy play coming in. But as you can see here, this line forms up. Bride, Alem, Shaiko, even Rafal. They've got this lovely kind of curve set up ready to take any of the aggression that comes in from the other side. But at that exact moment, they call. The distraction is coming in. The blitz is on the way. Oh God, there's a rush. We're being forced back. And then Bolo, he steps out into Big Tower as they feel forced back because they know that the rush is coming in. I think at this point, they assume there's a 5-man about to step in. They just don't respect that there is a player, as would normally find with the Zofia. It was a Lems on their attacks, playing on Big Tower. He steps down and it just lights up for him. It's like Christmas and waking up and finding 3 presents for you. Absolutely slaughters the main corridor. It's almost like, for the side of TSM, they've put all their eggs in one basket and said, we are the distraction force, you are the killing force, and that is no doubt a big reason as to why he's then gone on to secure himself 18 kills across the whole map. It's these small, simple things, I think, for TSM that really shone in this game. It wasn't anything special. It was a 2-way push in which one side of the map is forcing as a distraction, the other one is that hyper-aggressive push. In other rounds, it was pinching together. They just look, in my mind, on another level when it comes to strategy here. And BDS, they need to wake up on Coastline. But to my mind, Milosh, is Coastline really a map where you're going to wake up on a strategical level? It's not that kind of map.
You know what? If Bolo doesn't scare you, then definitely the sound of the blitz train coming is...
Nino! It's on the way.
We got it in!
We got it in!
Say the line!
Say the line! Nino, yay!
Exactly that. Let's take a look at our maps again. We'll see again the maps that we had for our best of 3 series. We went through our first one here on Oregon. Second one will be Coastline, and Chalet will be other sider if BDS step up to the plate to defeat their opponents. Again, BDS picked Oregon, a map we talk about constantly. We get to watch BDS constantly playing on Oregon, despite a year ago, BDS being absolutely terrible on Oregon. Look at where they are today, and they get smacked around by TSM on it. Now we go to Coastline. What can BDS do? TSM, honestly, if you ask me, they look like they're gonna take the series. What do BDS need to bring?
The only thing that jumps to my mind from BDS on Coastline is their game against the new Vitality roster of Stage 1 last year, the super team that got assembled by Vitality, and they absolutely slapped them off the park. I think it was 7-1 or 7-2. They looked strong, they looked solid, they pushed together. But from what we've just seen on Oregon, where there was barely ever a push together, it was more solo players running onto the end of a barrel, I'm concerned that a map as fast-paced as Coastline, can they get this together and can they coordinate in time? I'm not really convinced.
You recall coming into map 1, I said, BDS need to win on Oregon. If not, it's going to be a difficult day for them. That's exactly what's happened. They had to fight back against Furia yesterday, but what we've got to remember, and this is no slight to Furia, they've been an excellent team. Stage 1, Invitational, but they're against a different beast here. They're against TSM. They're against a TSM with Bolo who's just put 18 kills down. This is not going to be pretty, and it's going to be difficult.
Who's going to contest him? Who can do 18 kills on the side? You'd say Alem's normally, or Shaiko, but They've both been quiet and terrible on the entry.
Where were they?
That's true. The only thing that could help BDS in this game is the fact that they're starting off on the attacking side in this one. Coastline 4-2 at the half for the attackers. Definitely not uncommon. It's becoming more and more the way, the modus operandi of the map. What can we look forward to? Besides, you know what, LM's given the calls, everything. How can we help, or how can BDS themselves help themselves to a victory, at least a big advantage on the attacking side?
I think all things being equal, knowing that Coastline has currently got this 52% balance in terms of defender win rate, it is one of the most balanced maps that we have got in the pool with the recent skewings of how things have changed in the game. Coming into this, you would put on paper these teams as being quite fairly matched, I'd say, and so a 3-3 half ultimately is what you're looking for. But I'll go back to what I said about Oregon. The entries, half the time, didn't have a drone in place. They'd run into the map and get themselves gunned down. We need to see a bit more composure. This is a shorter map. You've got more time to play with. Let's get on the drones and take it step by step. Be the structured team that we know BDS have been in the past. Otherwise, you're going home.
If I'm a BDS fan looking at this now, what's on your screen, I'm a little bit worried, Milosh, because we've got TSM, they're huddled round, they're focused, they've just come out of a good win.
Got the tablet out, the stats are out, that's it.
They're not resting on the laurels here. They're not, they're in between maps here and they're focused, they're locked in, they're ready to go. They are coming out, meaning business, and wanting to keep that pressure applied to BDS. You can just see that they're a team with a focus, with a real will to win, and I just don't think they're going to let up here on Coastline. I really don't. And if they support Bolo, basically, right now, Bolo is hitting shots. Let's just be honest about that. If they can come out as a team and facilitate him to keep doing that, we'll worry about all the other stuff. Don't worry about that. You just go and click heads. This could be over quickly.
The one thing, though, that I want to talk about, and this is more of an open question, was the Yana ban so impactful, and will it have an extra impact on Coastline?
Well, it was banned by BDS, so I was like, well, you guys are the ones who made use of this previously. Like, Shaiko was the one who absolutely terrorized teams playing that solo, pushing down laundry stairs, for example, and then opted to step away. We even joked saying, oh man, turns out Shaiko's just discovered what frag grenades are, and you don't have to shoot to kill people. He was like, no way. These are absolute freebies all day long. He had a field day with that in the group stage. So I was surprised to see the ban come through. I think I commented upstairs that it was very default bans for TSM, more focused, targeted ones, it felt like, coming out of BDS. Truthfully, it doesn't matter what you ban. If you're not able to put together an attack as a cohesive unit, you are going to fall down against TSM.
I think at the minute, BDS have to have a strong start. That is the big thing for me here, Milosh. If they come out and go 2 or 3 rounds behind, I don't see any way to that final map. I don't see any way to Chalet at that point.
And that is the only way that BDS can survive. Much like every team that's attended Invitational, within 48 hours, you're out of the country if you lose. And if BDS lose this game, they will be heading home to France. At least it'll be a short train trip. That's something to keep in mind. But we will have to get into game to discover exactly where things will be headed. The Blitz train might have sung just for a bit on Oregon. Maybe we'll see it again on Coastline. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take it to sunny Ibiza. And with our casters, Hap and Fluke, enjoy it's TSM versus BDS.
Thank you, Milosh, and indeed, it's all on the line right now for BDS, and I didn't recall saying home. I thought it just said out of the country. So if I was BDS, I'd really step it up now. Otherwise, you might be in some trouble, boys. Either way, it is going to be a wonderful match. And as said, BDS need to come in strong right now. They need to deal the first punch or hand it out to TSM and show that they can indeed show up. Shaiko, not had the best game so far, and it's going to be up to him right now to wake up and be the player that people expect him to be. Because I already saw that Bartosz on the Twitter was keeping track of Bolo versus Shaiko. It's currently 4-0 for Bolo.
For all the tallies that are going on at home, for all the fans that are making their own tracks of who's got that entry stat between the two, it is currently 4-0 to Bolo. Coast is an animal. Coast is a space unto itself. It's the danger donut, and there's a split towards the favor of TSM.
Very nice.
Understandably, to be honest, I think whether we'd seen the map before or not, this is a map that does play well into TSM's favor. And
yeah,
I think that stat would have been similar. It's really up to BDS to step up in a massive way, and maybe the biggest that they've had to this entire tournament.
It's not just that. It's just that Bolo had good breakfast apparently this morning.
Yeah,
he's taking lessons from Joystick. He's taking some humans for breakfast.
Delicious.
Delicious, absolutely. And 18 on 5 and 18 on 6 in that first map. And we all know Chalet, not Chalet, Coastline, also Chalet, but Coastline for first. Very frag-heavy map to come in. It is often decided on these final gunfights, on these plays that just happen out of nowhere sometimes. And Bolo, well, you just saw him run in deep behind the pillar, grab a triple kill to make sure that the round was locked out for TSM. If he manages to do that quite a bit, well, then you might find yourselves in a deficit if you're BDS. If you cannot reply and respond to that yourself, and then you're looking over on the other side, everybody was negative. -1 Renshiro, -2 Bride, -2 Rafal, -3 LMs, and -5 Shaiko, who according to many is the best fragger in the game. But Bolo's trying to say, you know what? That belt is mine.
Hey, he's doing more than that. He's taking it, getting it engraved, putting his numbers on it.
I see out at the same time, you know, getting all those diamonds in. He's setting it up. But Blue Bar Sunrise, first sight we go. BDS is out on the attack. And as mentioned before, it is a very, very balanced map in terms of win percentage. 54% defense favored. That means there's about an 8% difference between the two sides.
Oh.
4 in favor and then 4 negative. Either
Looking
way.
at differences. Sixth pick there, the bait of the Glaz to the Zephyr. It gives a hint of a gameplay and then shifts obviously instantly to a very different one. You have Glaz in, I guess, 2 roles. Is often you'll see it in either back on the side of ruins, which is like, meh, on the top of the building itself, covering the rotations around the backside of luggage, or if they want to try and bury themselves down 90, and sometimes even beneath, if you can get that sharpness of the angle, you can dig yourself in towards the back of lobby, or around on the other side towards kitchen. Okie dokie. Then if you want to do the extreme version, it's smoke plays. It's kind of getting in close. So they're giving off the idea if we might be doing any of this. I guess they're hoping that TSM fall for the other one. In the other time, obviously Valk is the swap there, just trying to find a place to hide that camera.
Decided to just yeet it out.
Lob out the window.
Just get it out the window. Make sure that you find out whether or not players will be repelled up or on the hookah, for example. It's Gio going all the way around, is still deciding where to toss that last Valkyrie Black Eye cam. Of course, checking for drones as well. Maybe one was hidden in the wine rack, but not the case. And that leaves us now with 2 minutes 30 left as Rafal quickly getting the flowers out of the way so he can just land on top of that plateau.
Achieved under a bit of pressure on the penthouse side. First of all, there is a body to offer some recompense. We talked about how before TSM were very mobile with their defense. Coastline doesn't offer much space. Coastline is so dangerous. You don't have that breathing room to sort of find new spaces here. So Shaiko, he's burying deep. They spray around, but there's a man on the backside. It's Bolo locked on 90. Alems at least gets Gio for the trouble and finds his way just to the crux of the site itself. They get one more kill on the bottom of Cool Vibes, but it's Merc as an angel from the heaven above to stop it. With the hot pings coming on the man with the diffuser, he knows he can't play dangerous as Bolo gets behind the bar and gives him a shot of bullets. The worst kind, as it takes him out for the rest of the round and the evening. It's now suddenly a site taken and retaken steadily, and we find ourselves in a 3 versus 2 as Rafal creeps up the back stairs. Bride is the man with the diffuser. He's very isolated on the opposite side, so they're hoping they can get one pinch, gives the game away, but the extension around the door or kitchen is the danger right now. The sprays are above. They are well aware of where he is. They need to time this to perfection, because otherwise all guns are currently faced towards one man.
And there you have it. Achieved just swings in, gets that final kill. It's only up to Bride now. Gets one to start it off. Still a player above and still Bolo behind the bar that you need to deal with in this case. And as a drone is being set up, maybe as a flank watch, not quite sure what the deal behind this is yet. Oh, they have it. They spot out the elbow, know that the hatch is currently being watched. And, well, they should be well aware of the fact that Bolo was playing behind that bar. And as Bride now putting up the pressure, he's going to be trying to get the kill onto the Jaeger that is going to go for the run out. How is that not being covered by the players on the drone? They should be aware of the fact that he is either behind his bar right now as he tries to put down some pressure. 40 seconds is plenty of time for him to try and make it work.
That's the main thing right now. He has loads of time. It's just seeing if he can get a bite of either of these two players. Bolo isn't and doesn't really have to move too much, but Merc, in the meantime, has opted for this drop-down rotation. He's realized there's 20 seconds left, may as well set themselves up for this 2 versus 1. They've got to come into the site, whatever happens, and he's not in a situation where he can stick it. That would be, well, the end of the round, however it goes. This way, they have that extension. They have the swing on the left. They have the one slightly deeper. He has to diversify his push. Pops up at the perfect time, and yet again, it's back for the double, but the bar is closed.
The bar is closed indeed. Try to dig himself right behind the bomb chassis. That way you only had to deal with Bolo, get that kill out, because then you could go for a plant. But you can also go for the challenge. So you try to put himself in a good position there. Bride, unfortunately for him, not allowed to get that far as TSM shut him down. And I believe it's going to be 5-0 in the Bolo versus Shaiko mark. Is well, he got quite close for a while. There was a bunch of trades, but at that point it was 3-3, and suddenly TSM were like, till here and no further.
Well, if you're wondering if Bolo was still playing the same way he was in the last map,
looks like it.
Looks like it. Looks like it. Able to open up with a triple there, was across the map. Took the first one up in 90.
Yep.
You know, it's this curiosity of that sort of play where they knew that there was a presence inside Projector and Theater, and they had an idea that there was a presence on Billiards, so they decided to cut themselves in the middle as the risk of the reward of the Lems going onto the site itself tried to pay dividends. But you know that TSM are quick to react. You know they're quick to offer cover, so it's a very costly gamble at the end of it.
10 seconds to go.
All right. Round number 2 is underway, and we said that BDS needed to deal a punch early on in this matchup if they wanted to have a chance of bringing it up to Chalet, where they then would find themselves on map number 3. So far, the punch hasn't been dealt with. It's TSM that was able to land the first blow, and are now 1 round ahead. Are, of course, trying to bring that into their own hands. There's a bit of work they need to do. They need to make sure that Bolo's not allowed to play as freely, as effectively as he has been throughout the previous map, and as he started off doing right into the first round here. Chalet goes down first. It's definitely a good start.
Well, Lams is able to dig in and get that early body. The smoke canisters are taken off the table, which is such a big blow to the utility of the stand hold on Hookah. It was just a swing pitched perfectly and punished by a Frenchman who is desperately trying to claw themselves in. Was a big part of the play of any of BDS's rounds and games, and is going to make sure that this isn't their final swan song this time this year, as they know the responsibilities that are on them. The mantle and the protection that is offered from underneath is slowly falling. They've been able to get themselves back into office. They have the danger that might be applied with that C4 in the pocket of Achieved. It's just waiting for the call that we know where they are. When will it get ripped, torn, and blown?
The big question, of course, is pressure coming down from Aqua. Achieved still below. Just holding off there, and there comes the C4. Perfectly timed, had the vertical angle, could see when he was around on the C4 and detonated it to bring it back to a 4-on-4. And while Rafale is still holding off on the angle, there could be an opportunity for a flank here on the side of TSM, especially with Bolo just dancing around the staircase. Or is the drone, however, managed to pick it up as Merc goes down.
Yeah, Merc dropped just at the top of Cool Vibes from a bit of a swing from Renshiro. No grenades to finish the job, at least in his pocket, though, so he might be able to get some cover. It's Shaiko digging deep yet again, is able to drop Valkyrie, pops back in to VIP to give himself some safety, but then instantly pops back out, refreshed, recharged, and tries to get the double. Can't quite lock it on the close fight around the vases. It's Renshiro, though, that gets one. Merc back to his feet with Achieved. Doubling down, and everything is starting to explode over Cool Vibes, though suddenly we have some space. And Bride is going to do what he does best out of anyone in the tournament statistically, with the cover coming through. It's a post-plant situation. The second round in, Merc is now trying to battle back. It's a similar story to how the previous map played out, where it was 1-for-1 apiece, and the first plant rocked itself on the second time. Merc, he's already bit the dust once, but can he find anything here? The upside down rappel, the spread onto luggage, it doesn't look good.
Definitely doesn't look good. It's almost an unwinnable position here as he goes for the defuse. Surely they will find themselves an angle if they try and run in. Oh, Rafale might expose himself just a bit too much there, but Bride swings in, gets that kill, secures the round for BDS. But the big difference here is And I'm not sure if you realized, when TSM win a round, they explode. BDS just won a round and it was just a quick, let's go. And that's it.
It's a very different team dynamic.
It is.
It's something that we've always talked about from them, from a standpoint. If you'll see it in the player cams, if you ever watched live and had the joys of seeing live top tier Siege, as far as the volume of BDS goes, as far as the energy levels in terms of the players themselves go, Alems is it. Alems is that train. Alems is the drive of the team. And yeah, it's relief, it's energy, but you see how it's a lot more sort of complacent isn't the word that I want to use. Low key is probably a better way of putting it, because it's not in anything a good or a bad thing. But on this stage, when you've got TSM being so vocal after everything, and you don't have the roar of the crowd, you don't have that energy, I think you got to have a bit more of a response. You got to bite back. You can't just do it from gameplay.
Definitely got to bite back. As good round for BDS on all around. Able to find the trades, and even though it was being brought back just a little bit by TSM, they were able to get that plan down. Brede, the man who's had so many already and almost definitely will be closing out the tournament as the top planter. There's almost no way that he's going to be giving that one away, even if they get eliminated here right now.
Someone would have to do 15 plants over the remaining games to catch up.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, I believe, Empire is the one that is currently second. So they are maybe facing a knockout themselves as well. So it's not looking good for the people that want to plant.
Well, Bolo is playing this sort of aggressive game now again. They've messing around is the politest way of putting it, but those vigil scans, those lines on this map, which is so thin and so flat, is such a problem. It's the best way of battling against those big corners, because it really constricts and limits a whole edge. It makes it a bit tricky, because if an entire team coalesces, then, you know, they know what corner you're in, and in Coastline, a corner is 25-30% of the map. It's not a big place, and there's not a lot of way in or way out. But BDS aren't really playing that. They're trying to get rough ideas and concepts of the holds and then punishing them, or attempting to, from that point onwards.
Putting up some pressure here from Hookah, Belker, and Shiro, whilst the rest of his team is trying to loop around. Bolo is being put under a bit of pressure. Drones are trying to follow him, but of course the Vigil with the ERC-7 having the opportunity to stay relatively unknown. Of course, they will find out that he's around that position. Impact nades are attempted to be used to either take care of a air jab or a drone that was located on the top of it. It seems like Bolo's just standing by for now, and the flank watch is there. Rafale is holding it off. They need to make sure that that part of the map is under control if they want to go for a plant on the default spots, and that's exactly what they're setting up for with these explosions onto the pool table, dealing with the utility that has been placed there. And Brede just waiting for the call, waiting for the opportunity to dig himself in and go for it. No smokes on BDS, however, and that means they need to make sure that it will stick. They need to make sure that the cover is there for a potential push or a retake position from Hookah itself.
No smokes on their side, but 3 in the hands of TSM, all with Chalet locked off. Was obviously a very early drop and a big regret as the play came through. This grenade does catch Gio. He was attempting to crawl his way out of there as the first canister pops, and the second, making sure the rotation comes through. It's wide, though. There's a big spray around the backside as Shaiko goes for one fight, but I think, no, it's Bolo gets dropped in an exchange. Suddenly, BDS is exploding their way onto site. Merc goes for one achieved, goes underneath, and Brede goes for one more plant. The cover is there. And unfortunately, achieved is not, arrives at the station, but it's already left. And it set itself up in a 4 versus 1. Not for very long, though. And BDS tie 2 in a row.
These rounds are the rounds that we talk about when BDS need to land a punch and deal it out to TSM. This was a very good round. They managed to get the openings. Great grenade to start it off with on the player that was prone beneath the Hookah window. And from there on you can snowball. And then suddenly you have Alems that is on that big window trying to challenge Chalet, the smoke, who is on the back of sight. Able to pick up that kill as well. And then Brede knows, all right, I can go for the plan now. That is safe. As you see the grenade from both these angles here. Also, Bolo picked up on the flank watch. Beautifully played by Rafal.
Yeah, you saw him rotating around to the backside, but Rafal was still there, stoic. They knew that they could just throw themselves in the cover again when he needed to be there. Rafal was there. BDS, very important double down there, because if it was back and forth as it was before,
yeah.
Bomb located by attackers.
We said it, they need to win the first 3 rounds. That's what the desk mentioned. Well, they got 2 out of 3. That's still decent, I'd say. That's still an opportunity to find themselves into a good map here. And I think that it's important to mention that so far everybody in BDS is doing their job. Everybody is getting the kills that they need to get. No one is really losing out on gunfights that are crucial to the round to go a certain way.
5 seconds left.
And now we are going back to the bars. Now this was the side where TSM was able to shut down BDS.
The bomb.
As they were being picked up one by one by Bolo. Let's see if that is going to be happening again. Bolo actually not having any kills after round number 1. Of course, we're only in round 4 now, but it shows how well Rafal is on that flank watch, shutting him down.
it also shows how well he played in the previous map.
Yes.
It's like, oh, he's only on 3 kills at this point.
He's only 3
Chalet,
kills.
yet again, is punished so early. Whether it's from positioning or the read, they aren't quite aware or aren't quite ready for this game, and that is yet again a player that can be a big backline
Off the pickup.
Well, yeah, they get him back up. They know that they need to get that carry, and Merc, the man on the mission, to save Chala. He's bloody, but he's standing, and he's able to slip past and pull back and escape a little. Buy some more time. It takes a single headshot to drop an opponent in this game, and that's one more gun that's firing on your favor. But look at the collapse here from BDS. They're trying to clear their way across the top. The concern might come from potentially the C4s in the hand of Achieved or Bolo. We've already seen one get dropped from that before. Here is Renshiro under pressure, under fire from the lock-off as Merc steadily pulls back. But look at Bolo on the far side, going for a bit of an adaptation. They are coalescing themselves closer to where they think the push is coming from, as it's Shaiko that opens things up.
Entry now this time for him. And as Chala is receiving some pressure, there it is. Renshiro on the window will be able to pick him up and is expecting a run out to happen, but it's not going to be the case as Bolo picks up the kill into Alems. That was the man that was coming to assist down in Billiards. The Nitro coming in clutch there, bringing it back at least a little bit here for TSM. As there is 70 seconds left, and now vertical pressure arises onto Bolo's head. Know exactly where he is, but BDS decide to go for a rotate now. They have the man advantage, they have the top floor control. They do no longer have to stay here as heavy as they do, and can finally start to work themselves towards the downstairs area.
Yeah, it's starting to try and crack down now on the site itself, which is in no way easy. Steady soft destruction clears and careens and just opens up these avenues and angles towards the back of the bar where they were punished for so much. There's a body on default, and Merc is looking towards the play around Cool Vibes, but he knows with the man disadvantage right now, they cannot overextend too much, something that has sometimes bit him on the back, and unfortunately, TSM then get punished later for it, but as default cracks open, they want to push this Sungo body out. Bolo blows an air jab on the far side, doesn't give the game away as Gio tries to stick in the default plant corner for as long as he can. It's the spray that'll matter, but it's Renshiro that drops it. There it goes, and that's the diffuser down cold. Gio dug in where he needed to, but Shaiko has the cover. It's all down to Merc, no more. BDS find their 3rd in a row.
Probably did not expect Shaiko to just swing by like that. Able to pick up the kill and able to, on the back of that, put some pressure towards the Sunrise bar. Merc knew the diffuser was dropped. Merc knew that the diffuser had to be planted in that case. And Dusty decided to watch that angle, but instead got flanked. And that means we're currently in a 3-1 lead for BDS, and we have a tactical timeout that has been called in, and you can take a guess on what team it is. TSM, again, taking a talk. Last time around it worked wonders for them. They were able to win 3 consecutive rounds on the back of it. And let's see if that is exactly what they need now. Just a quick talk, quick chat with the coach. See what has been going wrong. But I think we can really nail it down. Shaiko is actually doing something. He's not not as big as Bolo was the previous round, but he's getting the entries. He's getting these important kills, which do really help BDS.
Across the board. The energy, the confidence, they're going for these final 20-second executes, but they're making sure that all of the groundwork is punished. Before TSM on Oregon, their defenses, they were free for a long period of time to sort of play spaces as BDS would get one body into position and then try and do this with this other body around the side, and suddenly TSM is repositioned and you're in a tight spot. The pace difference and the approach difference, okay, it's Coast, it's a fast map, but look at how much quicker BDS are reacting to these plays, and look at how much more seemingly aware of TSM they are, which was on the previous map just up in the air all the time.
That's it, and I think we also can mention that Bolo not really allowed to make the plays he would like to make. Every single time he tries to go on a flank, and every single time it's Rafal or Enshiro that shuts him down and makes sure that he's not really having the impact he would like to have on these rounds. And it leaves us now in a situation where BDS leads over TSM, only in round count, mind you. TSM still having the first map under the belt, and that means that BDS are desperate to try and take this one. Cannot afford to lose this map, as that would be the tournament exit. And as I said, uncertainty if they're still allowed to live in France after that.
According to the official rulebook.
According to the official rulebook, that is.
I'm sure they can work something out. All right, TSM, all eyes on you right now, and I guess we'll pinpoint a couple of different changes here. The Frost coming out, Kitchen as a side itself, which otherwise hasn't been picked with these long, flat firing lines. You often see a lot of a lateral extension for some teams with a hold inside Sunrise on the back, which Bolo is the back line for. They have that stack up on the second story too as well, but BDS is giving flirts of danger, flirts of ideas of this is where we're coming from, and then restacking themselves. Rafal is already locking off the rotation on the top of White as the rest of this hammer of BDS wants to smack their way towards the anvil. Achieved is the medal that they want to work into another tick and another scratch on their KD. But it's actually Alem that suffers first with Merc on the back line. Look at that impact. Almost drops Alem's inside Hall of Fame, but scrapes enough damage to say, BDS, we're paying a lot of attention to you now.
Definitely paying a lot of attention, but I think you have to mention as well that the top 4 control is being, well, forfeited relative quickly. It's just achieved up right now, and it is an image we're used to be seeing from TSM. Achieved solo on the roam. Normally it was shut down quite quickly by the previous teams they have played, but BDS so far not been able to find these entries. And as I talk about an entry, it's Renshiro that takes the kill down onto Chalet. Again, Chalet that goes off first, or one of the first. Very impactful considering the denial he carries.
Oh, Achieved slipped off the angle just as someone could have rewarded them for it, but the C4 catches the edge of Shaiko, and there's one for Merc on the far side. Rafal, your flank cover is gone. Achieved has been able to reconvene in a very aggressive stance here and potentially punish someone who doesn't know they've flooded back in. Bolo underneath is waiting for a drift on the angles. He's open just outside the door. It's BDS looking for a way through in a route, but with the low health of Shaiko and Alems, it won't take much to take him down. Same goes, no? As they get them from above and rain down upon them from VIP on the backside of Hall of Fame. It's so much pressure on this verticality. Achieved, though, could be the flaw in the plan. He sprays through, gives the game, and Alems punishes them 40 seconds.
Shaiko and Alem's both low on HP, but took that fight either way and managed to bring it home as well. It's only up to Merc and Geo now, a 2v4 clutch situation. You still see BDS taking up so much vertical control right here, using all their breaching charges and the hammer to make sure that they have every angle they desire. So, you can send Bride down to go and plant, so you can be very certain that all the cover will be there as necessary, but not enough for that. Geo just swings out and gets a very important kill. 10 seconds left on the clock, and he has the diffuser down.
They have to spray and dig their way through. The cam is giving all the hot pings. They've got to take the fight. They pre-fire and they plant, or they at least attempt to. Merc is the one man who might be able to stop this. Waits for the 0. Goes for the Holy Grail. Dropped by Shaiko on the cover, though.
There you have it. The cover is there, and what a round that was. If only he would have swung out at the moment that the red ping came through, he would have been able to drop that diffuser again once more. That would have been a TSM round if he manages to get those shots down, especially if you saw the HP that LMs was playing with. A single bullet was enough to take him down, but he managed to he just stuck in, he just dig himself deep in and was afraid to peek. Whilst the peek was exactly what was necessary. Just a pre-fire and you would have won the round right there. That's all you had to do. Because right now your feet stick out, you see it, LMs picks up that kill and goes for that plant. Then Shaiko just in time from above, just barely.
Just got there. So, you know how the official R6 Esports account was keeping a track of...
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
Shaiko versus Bolo? Team
like
BDS,
4-2 or 4-3?
the BDS official account, it was 5-0 towards Bolo. Just responded as soon as that first kill went, 5-1.
Ah.
In terms of the BDS socials account, the game is on, apparently. And
it is on.
to be fair, we talked about it before, where after the previous tac timeout taken by TSM, they were then able to take 3 consecutive maps and win out, 3 consecutive rounds and win out the map. Not 3 consecutive maps. Here, instantly BDS being able to bite back, that's a bit of a demoralizer. Okay, they're on their attack and it's Coast. The 4-2 split, as you said, isn't the most uncommon thing. But now whatever happens, you know, it's football. For you American viewers, it's soccer. It's just the game that you've got to play in front of you. You don't have that time. You don't have the communication outside with the coach, with the manager. You've got to try and find a way to thread the beautiful game with the 45-minute halves that you're having left available to you. No more breaks in play.
The only way that TSM is allowed to speak to their coach again throughout this map is if BDS decide to call a tactical timeout. Because it goes both ways. You call a tactical timeout, both coaches, their mics get activated. They can have a quick chat. See what's up. See what needs to be changed. So that means that it's not always going to be helping you. Because the other team, if they had some issues, they get to get the opportunity to speak as well. K2 in the case here of BDS. Now, there is some teams that we actually do see take tactical timeouts, but they never really speak to their coach. For example, Shas was always quiet. Had his microphone the wrong way around, you would say, if he had it. Was never going to be able to speak. But either way, it is TSM that took the tactical timeout. It worked out well in Oregon. It didn't work out as well right now. And as BDS is looking to put up some pressure right here straight into the bomb site, this might be a very quick push. A breaching charge is coming in. Are they going to be trying to outrun Blue Bar and maybe get some early kills?
To be fair, it was the way LMs dug his way through the site before. They've been able to take them by a bit of surprise here. No mirror on the board, but Gio's going to lock in with the smoke and the place in the pillar he played before quite a lot. Pops anything that might be on the luggage door to allow themselves this rotation. If that goes unchecked and uncontested, you're always a bit concerned right now for Rafal. That's your flank watch. What's he watching? It's a drone that's on the back of lobby. Bolo, for now, is technically an unchecked entity. And if he gets a sniff and a whiff of a body that he might be able to punish for it, well, he obviously doesn't have it because he instead drops his way around to the other of security. Chalet, though, with a double. Renshiro battles back and the push comes through onto site. The C4 pop, but it's Merc. Yet again from that hatch inside Hooker that's able to get some revenge. Rafal digs deep. Goes up top and drops the man with 50 seconds. They have plenty of time to reconvene and pull their way back down. There's still the C4s, though, that can be played as Shaiko scrapes the back of the blue bar, pops over the top, and rocks the world of the last man.
Shaiko!
There it is! 5-1 half for BDS.
Rafal cleans up that kill, the injury that he had before, and then the wallbang just came through. Cleaning it up. And Shaiko, just here again, I'm just going to say it for those who are keeping track, taking care of Bolo. They try to go for a flank down into security. That was being watched. The Ash was on patrol. And now a 5-1 scoreline here for BDS. And the first thing you see as soon as TSM is getting on their attacks are the Dokkaebi and the Line are coming out. They know that the roam play or the free play that BDS might bring now, they have a little bit more confidence in themselves. Could be troubling. So you gotta shut that down. The Nomad gets brought out, however. It is gonna be a quick 6-pick, as you see here again. Shaiko onto Bolo. Also a very important kill here from Rafal. And technically the double kill from Shaiko, taking down Chalet and achieved. Really setting BDS up for a great second half as they are now onto the defense themselves. And the Lems, the loud man he is. Apologizing. Sorry, I didn't mean to scream in your ear.
Hey, different approaches, but You can't argue with the results. As I said, you kind of want them to get a bit vocal. You want them to get a bit... And it's not in the EU region. It's...
You heard what Pojaman said, though. Setting something in chat right after winning could be the nail in the coffin, so...
He did say that.
Who knows? Maybe BDS need to grab a page out of TSM strategy book.
They're not that sort of team. They play it on the field and occasionally have comments in a post-game.
Yeah.
They're always... I can't remember a moment where they've ever not been complimentary to their opponents. They're one of the few teams I think I've always known that's always said, every game is a tough game, every opponent's a great opponent. They're too nice.
Very respectful. That's
very,
for sure.
very respectful. In the meantime, I guess what they're doing right now, though, that scoreboard is a bit of disrespect. So they're going to see if TSM can try and claw some of that back. They have to rebuild on their attacks right now, and Bolo suffers before he even gets much further than Service served himself with a face full of Renshiro's bullets from range. A quick swing, though, and a quick rotation pushes them on the backside of Lobby, where they might meet the other fate. Shaiko is holding down inside security, wants to swing around on this dangerous game. It's been a back and forth between these two, and it's another one on the board for Shaiko. The E1D growls, but there's no pickup. Merc, in the meantime, is trying to get the entrance here just on the backside of Sunrise, with the split being popped open, but there's no eyes, there's no reprieve that TSM has been offered, and for all the compliments we gave their attacks before on Oregon and being able to pull apart that early game, here they've seemed a little bit lost, as you can see them moving all the way across the top and entirely repositioning.
Shaiko going for a flank, might have been spotted out by the drone, but decides it's okay nonetheless and moves up. There's the opportunity to go for a big double kill here. If he moves in time, the E1D pops off, which will slow him down, as Achieve right now will be shot down by the shotgun of Brede, who gets down himself, but the cover is there. Shaiko secures his buddy, and it's only up to Gio now. The last man standing takes down one to start things off, but Shaiko comes around the corner, and now they're getting heated up on BDS. Now they're screaming.
They save it for map point.
They save it for map point.
Save it for map point, and you can see they are focused, lasered, locked in, and ready to try and take this one to the third map. This is one of those games where we had high expectations, and after the first map, you might not have believed those could have been matched.
Yeah, after the first map and Bolo being so on fire as he was, and then round number one comes in and he gets a triple kill, you're like, this could be a very quick game here. It could be a 2-0 if Bolo keeps that up, but if I'm quickly checking, only had one kill since the first round. He has been shut down almost to perfection by BDS, and mostly Shaiko, who has been able to, well, rack up the tally points into his favor this time in this map.
One round separates them from being able to take us for a lovely trip to Chalet as the final decider in this best of three. TSM, they've been quiet and they have everything left to do, and that's the unfortunate circumstance right now, is I believe in the previous map all of them were positive on KD. None of them have been able to find that mantle. It is a full force showing.
Yeah,
it's coming out from BDS. All right, Shaiko's gone 11-2. He's definitely stepped up. That cannot be denied and cannot be ignored. But it's across the board. Rafal is having an impact on that flank watch. Think of all the times he's been dedicated in a situation where previously it was punished by TSM. Renshiro, Alems, Brede, these three core players as well. It's a team of 5 masters of each of their own craft. And they've actually been able to turn something beautiful here. But that is in no way to not and discount what TSM can do. It's just they've got to do it all.
Got to do it all, and they have 5 rounds they need to bring back if they want to bring this to OT and close it out in a 2-0 fashion. And Shaiko, he's not planning on slowing down yet, 11-2. Might be aware of the fact that one could be on the Lambo door as it has opened up suddenly. It's a little bit of pressure from that door as well, and decides to just hold it. Why not? Why not peek it? try and get that kill. Try and make sure that you, again, get the opening here, because it can be so important, but instead it's a Lambs that just runs out, secures the kill right before Bolo takes him out, however, and now it's going to be Shaiko to go for the peek right there, but he will fail to get the shot down, rotates out into safety, decides that his life is worth more in this late round than it might be at the start, at the cost of taking down Bolo, potentially.
Merc gone in the trade there. It's not the worst blow for TSM. It's your entry off the board, sure, but his job is to get in that first confrontation, and Bolo, he made sure that his job was to make sure it wasn't for naught. Swung round, took care of a Lems, took care of a potential C4. The damage that the shotgun can do on the close swing. There's a minute 20 and still 4 more bodies to go through, and with Renshiro holding off on security, all their attention might currently be focused towards the kitchen itself, where we saw Shaiko dancing with, putting pressure back in against the windows. They have the idea of default. They know what they want to do, but look at the fight of Shaiko up top and the clear that might be coming out. Chalet is obviously just sort of keeping underneath, but it's achieved. It doesn't even need Geo in the meantime that he's swinging around.
It's not a repeat you want to go for there. Grenades being tossed in, trying to clear out anything that might be on the cool 5 stairs. May it be a player or some utility. Right now they have the opportunity to go for some vertical play. They can open up in these difficult angles to try and make sure that they displace these players of BDS, but they're not really playing on the site. They're playing very, very heavily off the site, you can almost say. They're inside of office holding these long angles, and if TSM realize this, they have the opportunity to go for a sunrise bar plant, I would say, without anybody being able to actually find a response to it. And as I say that, Rafal rotates back in because they realize that that might be their weak point.
Well, Geo goes down. Bride, close swings. Rafal, though, on the backside of Pillow gets taken by Bolo. It's Bride who's pulled all the way back 10 seconds. There's a man on your right.
Oh.
You drop him too with the shotgun. Swings for one more. It's the SMG.
Bride.
It's another for Bride. The triple goes wide and deep, but doesn't have to. BDS on the back of a Bride clutch. The story is written so consistently.
We call him the best support in Europe for a long while. And he managed to at least make it stick here, manages to get the clutch out when it matters most. Of course it's a 6-1. You had plenty of more rounds available to you if you weren't able to pick up this one, but at least you secure this matchup with a lot of potential here, with a lot of actual momentum that carries on as well, and that might be the most important one. Closing this one off with a 7-1 instead of a 7-2, 7-3, or maybe 7-4. That might be a heavy blow that's necessary to put TSM down.
Well, we'll be taking a quick breather for the players, for us, and obviously for everyone at home before we find ourselves back on the desk after a quick commercial break.
What does it take to create a secure community? Join us on the second episode of I Call Next as we discover how to protect what's most important and enable worry-free play.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Paris, France. It's Six Invitational 2021, and we are on map 2 of our first best of 3 series today. And man, what a map 2 it was. We called on BDS to step up to the plate and show us what they've got, and oh boy, they did.
They absolutely did. Really impressed, actually, because one thing we didn't consider too much coming into Coastline was that, yes, we thought we'd see TSM playing the map like they did on Oregon, but they did it in quite a fragmented way, where there was the odd roamer here, the odd roamer there. And for BDS, they walked in, were more than happy to collect kills against them multiple times over. And with the flank watches they set up, Ace, the droning work they had coming through, they looked like a different team on this map.
They really did. I came in saying that they needed a strong start here, and to be honest, they never stopped starting, did they? They just went on and on and on until they'd clear Coastline out. But as you said there, Des, BDS just going back to basics and doing the fundamentals very well. We saw it when they came in on the attack, sort of round after round one, effectively. You know, Bolo got the 3K, opened things up. You thought, right, this is going in TSM's favour. And then BDS, they just knuckled down. They did everything right. They were supporting their attacks. The foundations were there. When the time came to plant, everything was in place. It was really nice from them.
The entirety of the team from BDS showing up. Cost is the important one here. It shows your kill, objective play, your assist, your survival, etc., your trades. That's the important thing, and everybody at 75%, almost everybody contributing to every single round. Bride might be only 6'4", but the man was born with an M590 in hand, and he's going to save around when he needs to.
It was a lot of work being done by Shaiko, Renshiro, and LMs, but I think this map, if nothing else, goes to show that the often thankless positions that you got, for example, Bride and Rafal playing in, they count for everything. There was one round where Rafal was sat on flank watch for 2 minutes and 43 seconds, only for Bolo to come pushing up white stairs, get put in the dirt, and then Rafal rotates off to go and cover the plant straight away. He did get a second kill in that round, so maybe you're saying, okay, in that case, Des, well, he's done his job and he's got kills to show for it. But in other rounds, you don't always see that, because it's always maybe someone's going to flank onto me, and maybe I need to get a kill on the plant. But as you say, I think everyone's done a really good job on this map in particular. A massive improvement over map number 1.
Oh, absolutely. No two ways about it. I mean, Shaiko has basically taken a look at what Bolo's done and said, you know what?
My turn. I like that.
Yeah, no problem. I can show you a bit of that as well. And he's come in and had the big game. And that's what we wanted. You know, obviously it's team against team. There's 5 players on either side. But the big headline story is Bolo versus Shaiko coming in, both having a great map each. Who can take it? Oof.
I can't wait to see map 3. Bride seems to be the best Goga we've ever had. It's gone from, as everybody's been saying up in the green room, CC I plant to Wee I plant.
Yep.
And man, it's been beautiful to see from the squad. However, we do have a telestration segment for everybody at home. This is where Ace, in this case, our wonderful professor,
we do. I just wanted to take a quick look at one of those plants, Milosh, from Bride. And to be honest, it's not like a huge example of BDS's gameplay. There is a little bit of that going on, but I wanted to show it because I'm really passionate about what things can people use at home as well, and this is one of them. We talk about the Hibana ban that we often see on this map, and it's to prevent quad wall getting opened in round about that position. It's usually done in the early round from up on the rooftop, and instead here it's been done by Ace, and what we can see is that we've got the last man surviving in a position on the luggage window there when the plant goes to go down. And if I just add some lines of sight on there, it's basically going all the way through and covering that angle so that his planter is safe and can't be rotated on from that double door. And as we see, nice and easily from that luggage window, the player pushes in to try and prevent the diffuser going down. And Bride, he's got all the cover he needs, Milosh. And it's an absolutely beautiful play from BDS, to be honest with you. It is just such a good example of how and why you open up that quad wall. It had been done earlier in the round by Bride himself. He was on the ace. He set himself up for the cover for the plant. It's just beautiful play. Just basics, foundations, and something you can do at home and win.
Can we start calling Professor Lever from now on? Professor Lever, the telestrator, if you will. I love that. It's a nice little breakdown. And when he was, oh, Ace did it all, I was like, yeah, you did do it all, mate. You broke it down and you opened the wall and you killed the guy. You're a man of many talents. What can I say?
That is the nicest thing that you have said to me on this desk so far, Des.
Where's the gates?
And we're back to it.
And back to normal.
Back to normal, indeed. Honestly, this is something we're going to be focusing on more and more in the future. Of course, Siege democratizes even more and more with replay replays for Invitational coming out around 2 weeks after the end of SI, so we can really dig into the details. There's going to be a lot of incredible stuff from content creators all around to talk to us about the beauty of Rainbow Six and where to learn all of these things and apply them in your own games. Yes,
you know what I'm really excited to see?
What?
Reaper just progressively go from day one, his normal kind of quiet self, to getting moldier and moldier as the days go by. By the end of 2 weeks, he'll be like, everyone is bad at Siege. I can't stand this anymore. That's what I'm here to see. That's the real entertainment in the content creation.
That's the key content.
Stay salty, Reaper. I love it.
There we go. We're making friends here on the desk.
I've teased him so much these last 2 weeks. I'm really sorry, Reaper. It's all fun and jest.
Is it now? I don't believe you. Let's take a look at the vetoes. Bring them up on the screen. Here it is. Oregon has already been played. Of course, a victory for TSM. A Coastline, huge victory for BDS to bring it all down to map 3, Chalet. Now, TSM in North America is known for being a pioneer of Chalet. We've talked about Bolo and his Goyo play, how incredible it can be on this map. What can BDS show on here? Because their record on Chalet is not as decorated as TSM's.
The simple answer, Milosh, is that we're not 100% sure right now.
Ooh, I love a bit.
They played it against G2, beat them there, but that is all we've seen.
That's all we've seen. We've seen one map, and it's not enough to judge a team on effectively. And it's also, you got to remember, these teams come in here with plan A, B, C, D. It's, you know, one play of a map is not enough to have seen every, you know, option that BDS are going to bring to the table here. So TSM are playing a little bit into the dark here.
I think when you look at Chalet again, that game against G2 was a 7-1. A massive achievement against G2 at this tournament. Maybe not, you'd say, on paper. Not the strongest game that you can have, but they did walk through it very, very comfortably. I think in that game, Kanto was the real shining star for G2, and the rest of the members didn't really stack up the way that you need. So I think coming in, okay, you can look at a couple of things that came out of BDS, but nothing on TSM side that's going to give them tons of information. This is a map they've done really well at concealing, and I think could bring out a few surprises here, Milosh. And this is the time to do it, because if you don't, you're going home.
Exactly. Well, at least for BDS, it will be a bit of a quicker trip versus TSM will have to fly back to Las Vegas, right? But one thing for everybody at home to remember, because you're seeing here BDS and TSM, two of the biggest teams internationally and in the respective regions. If you want to support them in game, you can go into the store and purchase their team bundles, skins for their operators, skins for their guns, 20% off on all of the esports bundles through this entire week to celebrate the teams and the Invitational. Part of that cash goes into the esports program and part of it to the teams themselves, so you can see them compete at a higher and higher level every single time they're here. That said, I think it is time for us to decide how this one will go. You snooze, you lose, you're out. Simple as that in this game. Ace, Des, thank you so very much. Time to toss it to our casters. Chalet is map 3. It's BDS TSM. Full cap. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, The Desk. And yes, if this one wasn't going to go to all three, I think we would have all left a little bit disappointed. It's the top of NA, it's the top of EU for a lot of people, and it's seeing who can be the one survivor with this showdown.
Yeah, only one of them is going to be continuing throughout the lower brackets, still have another game today, so even if they win here today, they're by nowhere near safe yet. But at least they're not going home within the next 48 hours. They're going to get a little bit more time to prepare for that in that case. Either way, Chalet is on next. And after we just had a very, very aggressive coastline, you can almost say a frag-heavy coastline, you're going to be wondering, how is that going to be translating across to Chalet? Because Chalet is also a map that we have, you know, said to be a bit like Coastline, a bit attack-heavy. And it's, I believe, the only map currently that is attack-heavy, and that does normally mean that frags are very helpful. But, that's a but, that Chalet is actually a good map for most North American teams, whereas in Europe it hasn't been played that much.
I think what we've seen from the NA Chalet as well is, I get it's different in a good way. We are having, and it's not been highlighted enough, the first inter-regional play for 15 months across this tournament. And for anybody to, if anybody walks away and says it hasn't been exhilarating, they're a liar. I
don't know what they're watching in their normal life.
Not this SI.
Not exciting.
Because it's an exciting, and I think that's what draws me more to Chalet as well, is its strategies, its plays have been cooked in isolation. It's that true reveal. It's like at the end of like a baking show where you have the surprise round, and you pull up the lid, and it's like, what have you prepared? Everyone's chalet is their own speciality to the degree of it's had to be stamped by a region because it's only been stamped during this locked regional play period.
Yes, and BDS go back to their usual methods of banning Wamai. So I thought they were gonna go off for it for a while. They've left it open a couple of times, but it's again going to be removed. And the Valkyrie and the Nomad as well. Those two often go in tandem. That has, of course, to do with the aggression that the map brings. Now, if you say Chalet, I don't necessarily think runouts as much as I would think of Consulate, for example.
There's swings that you can do that are aggressive.
Swings.
There's plays. You're looking at Canine. You're looking at, if you're feeling very bold, Library or Trophy, you can swing on, and Fireplace further, super bold. But it's internal because it's sort of a struggle at some points. You have this huge corner room. It's 3 squares. Is your most boiled down takeaway that are connected in like an L shape, and the middle, the joining one, is a big open space in Fireplace. And that makes it a very dangerous swing around the corner there. So you almost find yourself in this like a cubic cutoff point on that corner or around that top alleyway where you're looking between the connection of box and towards the sort of, it's tough to muscle your way around the corner is, I guess, what I'm trying to put to words.
It's definitely going to be tough, that's for sure. And as we are going to kitchen and dining first, you are going to be seeing the vertical hole that comes through, but we also see some of these tricks we have seen before. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, and I'm not sure if it was TSM that fell for it. I think it might have been against Makers. I'm not quite sure if they played the map anymore. Either way, they wanted to go for a West main push, but at the same time, like, everybody got caught by different angles. It is not really playing out that way, and the response that was being found by the team that was then coming up against it in the next very round was to go for vertical control and was to go for Fireplace. So what you do see here is that TSM is playing with currently 2-3 players around the library, around the Fireplace side. That allows them to make sure that the weakness of said setup is not going to be able to be completely abused by attackers deciding to just completely ignore whatever setup is being brought.
Well, Alems gets in the opener, but Charla's on the cover, and suddenly on the double, they try to throw themselves into sight, and you can hear it heating up on the stage behind us as all the calls come through with 2 TSM players on the floor. They've got to very quickly reconvene and see if they can get them back up. Charla did a huge amount of work there, and if this goes TSM's way, it's his round, and so far, it's looking like it might be able to thread its way through. Bolo is gone. He was not really in a position to be got up the same way as before, but it's now the deep fire fight of this 2 versus 3 situation. A single frag grenade in the pocket of Rafal. This backline, though, has been constructed well. Geo still has the C4, and the double impacts in Merc's pocket means verticality isn't safe, regardless of the minute 20 that they have on the board.
Sheko trying to find a kill here, and for a long time it was actually a very, very good round for BDS if it wasn't for the strikebacks that happened straight away. And now they need to try and salvage whatever is left of this round. A very good drone. There is some valuable information. Now Sheko and those 2 are going to be locked up around the same square meter, but first he needs to find the one that is right around the corner as he somehow manages to survive all these shots, goes aggressive even once more, but he's not going to be able to find anyone. He's literally being peeked by every single corner you can imagine. Now is being circled by, and he gets taken out, and Rafal nowhere to give cover. And that means TSM find themselves in a 1-on-3 situation now.
Went very deep and just tried to bite at every single angle and ankle that was offered close. And look at the spread out from TSM. They took that first kill and have entirely spread themselves across this entrance instead. So that is Charla's round. Not going to kind of mix words there. He sort of found himself on the back line with the Chief dead, stuck in, got a double and hit the floor. It's one of those like dramatic cinematic war film moments where he's being shot, but he's shooting back and he hits the floor, and you see his teammates CSM running to him in slow motion to get him back up. They leave Bolo for dead.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
He's on the second story. Like,
it's a 5-5 now, actually.
Yeah, it's like running over to Charla, like, Charla!
I mean, That was literally the Chalet appreciation post from TSM. If we choose Bolo or Chalet, they went for Chalet in this case.
That was it. That double there, either side as well. That was his round, and obviously picking themselves back up. At first, they were in a bit of a tricky situation, locked in on the corner when Shaiko dug himself in, but the spread afterwards, the realization that they had 30 seconds, they had some time, and they knew where that last body was because the pressure and the grenade had come from above. A great response from TSM.
There would have been a little bit of a different timing on Shaiko trying to go for these fights there. It could have been the other way around because he missed 3 players every single time by like a millisecond. And TSM thus perfectly playing around it and able to bring it back into their favor. Taking the lead here on Chalet on defense. A very valuable round. One that is going to be very helpful because it has been very rare during SI so far that we've seen 3 rounds chained up in a row by the defense. 3 different sides. 2 is being done quite regularly, but 3 is definitely something that doesn't happen often. So you do want to win your defensive rounds as early as possible to give yourself some time to build up a buffer. And whilst TSM is now choosing to go for their second site, have the opportunity of locking that one in, setting themselves up to do what isn't being done that much yet.
Chalet with the Frost gives Alem a little bit of food for thought as he pops through the window. He is still so consistently that pace. He's the man that applies the mission and says, this is what we're going to do. Let's see if we can make it work today. And unfortunately, sometimes he finds himself scuttled by the response of TSM, as was previously locked in and denoted. Here, the pressure coming from underneath. There's one body on the bottom of blue that looks like they might rotate up background, and they're toying with the idea now that they've actually got a little bit more cover and a stretch. If Alems find themselves cut off, he could be a very easy takeaway for TSM, but they're kind of toying with the idea of how much out of shape do we want to go for one throw when we still have all of this on the board.
There's a yokai drone there that should be very well aware of the position of Alems that is just cruising through in bar, and there you have him now found. Spots are coming through, he's trying to take care of it. Not able to quite hit the shots yet, and as verticals are now being created, Alems is going to be trying to put up some pressure, but he's get peeked. It's the Chief that just runs in, gets the kill. Shaiko goes down as well. Bolo wants to secure, but he's being put under pressure here. There is plenty of members left inside the library to try and make sure that he's not going to be able to pick up Shaiko.
As I said, how out of shape do they want to go? Shaiko's going to lock it with the C4 and make sure Shaiko can't stand back up. Bolo even, and Bolo now, he's under pressure, but he drops Rafal too. The swing round, the cover couldn't quite make it. The single body that's well aware in the hands of TSM. They hop through though and get lucky. The moment of madness came through. The cover on the top of the stairs sprays back but drops down. Goes for a rotation, and that means that fireplace area is still up for so much contention. So instead of focusing themselves in, they've got to try and dig through the site itself, eyes towards K9 and the corner of support and structure it might offer you, because TSM are still mobile. They've still got these bodies, they've still got those echo drones too. There's so much concern of presence.
So Mugem are still on that wall there, and that means Brede is not going to be allowed to open up, and as Geo now had the time to rotate all the way around and get the yokai drone in the side, it's going to be almost impossible for BDS to go for a plant right here, and it's going to be even harder to go for all these kills if you see how spread out these members of TSM are and what kind of power positions they are currently playing. 20 seconds on the clock to trying to go for the entry, but they do know exactly where they're coming from due to those yokais.
Stacked up with 3 against 2, it's a load of space. A dead man's land, and Achieved is the first one to be added to the pile of bodies, but with only 5 seconds left, the other TSM players aren't popping their heads up. This is a round that you assume is going to go the way of these echo drones. The call comes through, the man goes into his corner, and he drops it, and Charla finds Renshiro, but somehow he's done the biggest part, but there is the pickup and the cover from Geo. Almost saved. And that is an unsettling camera angle.
Just looking at the teammate there, just quickly shut off one burst, thinking that would have been the diffuser, but as he shut it out, alerted the one member left on BDS to take it out. And Brede lands yet another plant, and that means he's currently on 33, I believe, throughout SI. Number 2 is Shepard on 15.
I saw the copy paste has changed.
And what has it changed into?
It's no longer CCCI plan, it's WWWI plan.
Oh, WWWI plan, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's fair to say. We can give him that title.
Yep.
It's no longer the best Goga title. It's Unfortunately for Goga, going to be the best Brie day now.
He did say he learned everything from Goga in the very complimentary tweets that were going on. Brie said he learned from the best.
Very nice. Wholesome. Either way, TSM are leading 0-2, and that is something you cannot take away. And BDS, they will want to make that change. 2 rounds in a row here on a map that is arguably attack-sided so far throughout this event and throughout most of the regions as well. But you're coming up against an NAL team. An NA team that is, well, just like the rest of the region, quite proficient inside of Chalet. And it's a bit of a scare if you're going to have to come up here as your decider, especially when many would have thought that Oregon should have gone the way of BDS. And they should have been able to take the lead there and potentially close it out on Coastline. We find ourselves now in a position where it is going to be TSM that have the initiative. They have the good start. They have the start that BDS wants. And let's see if they can continue building on this.
I believe one of the curiosities that we had coming into Chalet when we've talked about how it is a bit of a, you know, it's a new taste because it's been developed in isolation, is that I think for the NA region it was defender-sided statistically, and in the EU and the Latin America and APAC regions it was attacker-favored. They've generally had more success as attackers. So seeing this sort of boil down and breakdown, you can, I guess, talk about how it's gone throughout the tournament itself, but you really don't have a huge mantle of intel and information to base on success. You have to take it on this round-by-round basis. BDS were close in the previous one, but it came down to a man clutching against an Echo drone that misfired. That's not something you can take a huge amount of comfort on, I think it's fair to say.
But they were in control throughout the majority of the round, TSM was. Bolo able to pick up these great kills, got caught off by timing as he got killed by Renshiro just going for that jump in, and almost BDS managed to bring it back. The question is, how often can it go for these clutches here? Shaiko taking a lot of damage here from the member that is dug in deep, and Merc is very well aware of the fact that there might be a man just holding the library double window, and he's trying to go for these peaks, but he's not able to swing out far enough yet because Alems is literally holding a pixel, nothing more than that. If you manage to land that shot, that would be the best shot of your career.
Well, what a time to make it. One of the biggest games that you've played across this play space, though. It's a hold here. This is that crux of the big L shape I talked about at the very beginning. Forcing your way through this corner is in no way easy, but it's a big battle for attrition. There's a C4 underneath, but it doesn't entirely connect. It does drop the man as Bolo is able to take care of Renshiro on the split and make sure that it's not the free pick on Charla, that it could have been a Lems, though. Is there. This quick bout of revenge, blow for blow and back and forth, and yes, another moment of waiting. It's so much pressure on someone they know's in the corner. Look at that slip through though. Merc hits the deck, drops the floor, and gets himself to a new spot of safety.
Just dolphin dive down that hatch. He's like, okay, you're trying to stun me, I'm out. I'm not going to stay here much longer, and that means that library control now has been given away, and it looks like BDS are aware of that as they are looking to take control. Score still worrying about potential frost mats to be down there as Shaika now descends these blue stairs, the library stairs, hoping to make an impact, hoping to pick up a big kill here, which would put BDS in an even bigger advantage. But there's only one drone available to them, one drone that they can use with 10 seconds left right now.
Oh, the diffuser down there is the worst blow. They can dig their way through. There's one more man. It's achieved round a corner, and he takes the kill, TSM! Clutch and claw and hold on for one more.
For one more second as well. Too late on the re-swing. They were all cuddled up, the BDS players, but decided to go their separate ways to spread their chances of winning the gunfight, but already down on the ground with the Vector in hand, the high fire rate. It's hard to win these gunfights if you do not know exactly where the head is located. And TSM leading 0-3. It's BDS that is currently trading, and it's BDS that is finding themselves at risk here for their tournament. Could be knocked out here. Could be the first of the two EU teams to go at the end of the day. I want to, of course, make sure that that is not going to be the case, and had no idea where Achieved was, and able to pick up that one. Just not this second, though, because the timer ran out before that. Luckily for him, because I'm pretty sure he would have preferred it that way than having to go into yet another gunfight.
3-0. TSM have been able to do their rotation, and to be fair, 2 of them were scrappy, and the first was a death-defying drive towards the site. Every single round has come down to the wire, and whether it's at the very end, as the previous 2 have been, or whether it's, as I said in the first round, the Chalet backline hold with the double kill that took the round and the success there, it's such a momentous punch that is becoming the dictation of how they've been able to thread themselves in. It's all surmising by this execute. And there's just always one piece of TSM that's falling into a level of success. The Echo drone round, a little bit less on the board, but they put themselves in a good retake. Oh. Well, there's a perfect start. Ranchiro's off the board early. Bolo swinging around and finding some of the pace that he had in the first map as offering this instant countenance, and Shaiko, the man who had the pace in the second, is making sure he keeps up.
There's going to be a sprint race between the 2 of them now. Who's going to be the one with the biggest game so far? It is going to be Bolo, and TSM that is leading. Not necessarily because any standout player. It's more so that BDS is just lacking a couple of kills all the time in the end of the round. So far haven't been able to lock anything themselves yet. 2 minutes on that clock. Pressure is being put down. They want to go for this top-down approach, and as the shield gets taken out, that's going to be Bolo displaced from his position. But he's not moving completely. He's still holding the angle. He still knows he can challenge this.
Close enough on that Goyo, and as those flames slowly dissipate, he can, if he wants to, get aggressive. But look at the bodies of TSM. They're still underneath. They're trying to do a bit of fact-finding. They have 2 more C4s in pocket as well. Anything that BDS find themselves stuck on for too long can be dangerous. Here's a close window, and there goes Bolo. Achieve needs to try and pull this kill. It's thrown, blown, and gone. Alem slapped off the solarium window as the sun shines as bright as, well, a pack of C4 explosives does.
Nitro there coming in big indeed. Making sure that Solarium will stay under control just a little bit longer as Shaiko now trying to take control. Spots out of Frostman. Good spot, actually. Nice. Nicely taken care of. Issue now, however, was beautiful bounce as well, just to make sure to get rid of that Mute Jammer will now happen, and that means the breach can come through. However, there is still these angles that are being watched by the TSM players, and as they fall back into, well, maybe a bit more of an anchor position, BDS find themselves in a tough ask. They need to go for a plant, but they need to do so with barely any control and barely any manpower.
There's one loose player on the back line here of TSM, and, well, they get taken care of now as the swing starts to come round. Achieved wants to step up into the mantle of a trophy, but with 20 seconds, BDS, they're going to try and stick that diffuser. It's how they love to play this game in the 2 versus 2. They have this big angle, they have this idea, but they have that Banshee screaming as soon as they try and enter on this split. It's a cacophony of noise. Shaiko has to try and go big because Chalet, he goes bigger. And now it's the swing on the close count. We see Achieve just dip out of there. But TSM find their 4th in a row.
There you have it, and if BDS was being dominant over the last map, then TSM definitely is right now. And as said, they wanted to go for the plant, but they couldn't, because there is still that Banshee that they didn't manage to clear. The grenade caught the Mute Jammer, but not the Banshee that was still located out there. And as a result, 3Day could not just sprint in, could not just go for the plant. He would have been peaked by 2 different angles if he tried. And Dust had to wait. But Dust got pre-fired by Chalet, waiting around the corner with the 9. Managing to get a big kill there, double kill in the end, to secure the round. And 0-4 current score, TSM. Going back to Master Bedroom, I said it's difficult for a team to chain all 3 rounds in a row, but they have been able to chain 4 in a row here on their defense. 1 on every single site they want to bring in now. Have 2 more to close out a potential flawless half. And that will be a big statement. And it will be a big ask and a big task for BDS to try and come back from that.
Yet again, it is that singular or little bit of hardware, little bit of utility, little bit of something special and extra that TSM has on that back burner, that has in those positions where BDS can do all the work in the world. unfortunately, they can't do it in enough time. And it's repeatedly being punished by TSM. It doesn't really matter, seemingly, outside of the first round, what's happening in the opening 2.5 minutes. Because as soon as it comes down to this boil, there is something in the kennels for TSM that comes out and bites at the worst possible bit for BDS. And they are so close, so succinctly close. But they cannot find that last bit and bout of energy to hop the last TSM hurdle.
That's it, they're just not able to get that very final kill. In the very final moments of that round. Twice in a row now we got this close. Shanko's drone gets taken care of. I'm pretty sure he knew there was a frost mat there as it got spotted. Indeed, they have the upside down rappel to deal with it. Opening up to get the Banshee as well, that has been located on, and that allows him to move in faster. But there's still these angles that have been created, and I believe there's still Chalet that is holding them. And if he does shoot as accurately as he does in the previous rounds, he might be able to pick up a big kill here as achieved. In trench, just holding off. Knows someone is coming and a Claymore gets put down. That is going to be covering off his potential rotation.
But it's given the game away that someone was on those stairs. I think he was expecting it from the garage instead. And with Shaiko being able to get the first now, he's going to have a bit of a drive to head up. He gets past, slips the Claymore and the shackles that it was otherwise trying to offer him. And he's able to get right into the back line in between the two blue bodies. Who catches who first? It's Bowler that goes. And he's in a moment of, well, there's a Lem swung round. There's one more. He's right behind you, and he doesn't quite make it, Mark. Lem's with a very important take, but achieved almost played that pitch perfectly.
He definitely did. He was in range for the knife, I believe, but wasn't able to go for it. Now you see Brede, the man, and the planter ready to go for it. Renshiro goes down. However, very big kill from Merc, and with 60 seconds left, this could be an important one. Still, Yokai drones potentially active. I cannot quite see yet. Yes, there they go. This should be given to VX. Oh, the wallbang! Instead, Merc stops it from happening. Geo couldn't stun him. Instead, the wallbang comes in, and that allows them to try and stall even more so. Rafal now onto the plant. Gets spotted out as well. Merc twice from the same angle. It's just not being challenged. Geo goes down, but Merc! A triple kill all from the same spot. TSM secured themselves a fifth. This was a BDS round. But Merc from the bathroom. 1, 2, and 3. Different diffuser carriers. Not taken care of.
They tried and tried again to stick it, but it was to their own deficit. They had the eyes on. Whether they knew it or not, the pings were coming through, and the echo was on the board. It wasn't hidden in any sense of the way, and you know you'd played against those drones before. The one wallbang should have given the game away that they're watching. BDS thought that I guess TSM would maybe play a little bit more timid. They swung themselves into the bedroom instead and tried to take the fight around the other split and didn't focus the bathroom, and it was just handed to Merc.
It was just handed to him there indeed, and as Geo went down, he went for the aggressive peek, managed to land the shot and secure that round. 5 rounds in a row here for TSM. Not a single one won by BDS, and the shouting continues.
I mean, I could lip read, but I won't repeat what he said. But there's a lot of energy.
PG-18.
It's we're getting our own taste of NAL. We're getting the pleasures of that Las Vegas stage, brought all the way here to Paris, France.
All the way to Palais Brongniart.
And to be fair, I mean, Vegas is looking pretty good. Those shining lights right now are all over Paris. And it's a 5-0 on the board on their defense. BDS, they need to claim 1 to have any breath, any space on their final half, their final setup, maybe the last rounds that they play on this SI during this stage.
Yeah.
They got to try and show a little bit more. It's Brede that's been unable to get off the board.
It is. He's been trying to get these plans down, but he hasn't been able to get a single kill. And every single time he just moves in to get that plant, he gets shut down. He managed to stick it once, but the instant retake was there. Is that a C4 actually 3 plays below the windows there, ready to be detonated as soon as they start moving in? I'm not quite sure, but Rafal's going to try and angle a grenade right over the edge right here. Is it going to land? No, it will not. That means that the player, I believe it's Bolo, will stay safe. A second grenade will deal a little bit of damage, but not quite enough yet to actually completely remove him. And that's 2 grenades now used of the 4 that they have available to them to try and dislodge him from his position. But he's stuck in here. Both windows are being watched. There's no way he gets out of this. He needs to go for the kills. Otherwise, he will die.
Locked in. Trying to keep himself in a position where he can hold this off for as long as possible. Merc is his cover and his support against the rest of the spread that might come from K9 in the corner over there. But as the first grenade bounces round and doesn't quite have the impact that he wanted, he's concerned of someone going for a swing against him. There goes the Goyo, and there goes most of Merc's health. But look at this. Repositions, hyper-aggressive. Geo goes down, and he went for a hop, but Renshiro was paying attention, and Rafal finds his second for the round. A sudden flood of blood is all over this library corner. They're trying to read the last man in the corner. His rights are all that he might hear echoing around those stunned ears, but it's also Bolo. The C4 pops doesn't quite catch the man. He knows that the pressure is going to come from one of only 5 different places. Achieved is at least able to offer some countenance, some attention elsewhere. 40 seconds, though, and a sliver of health across the board. It's Shaiko that finds Achieved and leaves. No one left standing. BDS, they clutch 1. They have 1 slip-up on their next defensive half.
And they can afford themselves 1 mistake if they want to bring this to an OT situation. 1 slip-up. But now TSM is on the attack. And 5 rounds on their defense is absolutely incredible. There's no 2 ways about it. It's absolutely incredible here for TSM, what we're seeing. They woke up on this map and they were like, you know what? Let's give them a taste of NAL. And he said, you know, the talks are coming up. I'm wondering if it's being fueled by an Eiffel Tower or a replica of it.
Well, is there an Eiffel Tower inside Vegas?
Yes, there is, because when the players arrived, they made a video and they're like, hey, we're in Vegas. Yeah.
I've never been, but I would love to go.
Never been either myself yet. So, yeah.
There you go.
You wouldn't know.
Okay, enough about our holiday plans. Let's talk about BDS's plans. I mentioned it at the very beginning of this game. Statistically, we could only really pull Chalet as the stats that they've had inside their regional leagues. And in the NA League, it was defender-sided. In the EU League, it was attacker-sided. Not too big. Whenever we quote these stats, don't expect a 5-1 split to be the consistency. What my curiosity has piqued by, as I'm sure it's a lot of people, is the setup now that... Are we in this position because TSM's defense was so much better because it's from the defender-sided region? Or is it that it's defender-sided because their attacks struggle more? The structure and that kind of well-played and placed methodology that comes into NA's attacking style is the reason attackers are struggling, because their attacks take more time to cook.
No, I think they're just good. I think they've just been able to shut down BDS and whatever was being brought there, and able to win out these rounds, maybe even clutch out these rounds as well, because there were a couple of close situations that really should have been going BDS's way. For example, Merc getting a triple kill all from the same spot in the same wall. That shouldn't be allowed to happen, yet it did. And as TSM is now clearing out, they also know 2 more rounds. That's all we need, 2 more rounds. We're finding ourselves a little bit closer to that grand final, a little bit closer into the opportunity of reaching top 4. I believe they will have to go through Oxygen if they win this, so only 1 NA team will be able to make it here today. It looks like BDS is on the brink of defeat, on the brink of being knocked out and taken care of, shut down, maybe even sent away from, well, Paris in this case.
Pressure on the piano corner. We've talked about it at length of how it becomes this high focal point of attention for teams to just try and round. It's a battle of attrition as you steadily push them back and make sure you feel like you have a semblance of safety. But with that shield hopped up high, with this body inside box, and with the guns of both these teams being so adept at swinging around, it takes time to cook it to the perfection of tying that taste and getting the first bite of the opponent that's delicious rather than the sour experience of being dropped on the split. Bolo slips past, gets a bit of an impression of someone pushing around as it was from Kitchen, but that wasn't who suffered them. Box is open, and this is a big blow and a big bit of concern. They have a minute to work with. And so far, TSM, this structured approach has worked wonders.
has been working very well indeed, and now there is the opportunity to try and take that top floor, to try and take office. And as Bolo gets this first kill down onto LMs, it is starting to play out that way. Still playing from below. There's still another roamer to deal with here, and as he makes his presence known, he manages to pick up the kill when Shiro will drop. It is going to be achieved. That drops on the other side though, so it's a 40-second 3-on-4 situation here for TSM. It's plenty of time for them to play this out and reach the match point situation. The question, however, is, can BDS clutch?
It's all that they've been able to struggle with on their executes was that final 20 seconds, and now they got to try and do the opposite. Popped as Chalet swings around the corner. Rafal suffers. Shaiko gets one back with this back line, trying to get it. Rafal with a great take, but 15 seconds, and Shaiko's going close. The diffuser is dropped. He slips past and further away, but he's all that's left at this point. He knows the pressure's coming. He pops and achieved. Pops bigger to put them one round away from sending BDS out of this building.
They might have to get backing after this, but Shaiko almost able to make that clutch happen just due to the lack of information. Had no idea of where he should go. Run out of box or stay in. What we do know is that both these players lined up. If only the first shots would have gone Shaiko's way, he would have been able to maybe pick up both. But TSM are leading. TSM are dominating right now. Showing that they're not ready to go home yet, and showing that they are here to stay and fight to get back into a grand final. Because they want to lift the hammer as well. We heard on the desk, both these teams have such storied players.
Oh yeah.
Shaiko and Bolo. And of course, they're not going to be retiring yet, because that was the story that they were being made. You know, you cannot imagine that either of these players will end their career at some point without a hammer lifted.
Yeah.
But one of them is going to go home now. One of them is going to be losing the opportunity of doing it this year, and will have to wait to potentially fight back for 2022. And so far, it's looking like Shaiko will be the one that is going to be sent home together with the rest of BDS. Because so far, TSM absolutely in charge. Not a single doubt up here, if you're looking at the scoreline, that they should be able to close this out.
Not to disagree with a coach, because I don't think you ever should. They know their team better than anybody, but at the start of this, if you missed it, there was an interview with Pojo Man, pre-recorded, and he was asked who the clown of the team is. And he said, all of them apart from Chalet. Chalet's a respectable young man.
Yeah,
which is fair.
Exactly.
If anything, Pojo Man, I disagree with you, because all we've seen from TSM today has been stellar, serious business. They're loud, they're vocal, they're having a good time, but they are here to do what they do best. And it is so tough for other teams to deal with, even the ones that have had these huge success and stories, even the ones that are these supposed best of the regions or best of the worlds. When TSM has the cogs whirring, it's a clean sweep. And Coast, it wasn't. Coast was BDS showing up, but here, it's so hard to argue with the control that TSM's been able to just exemplify over Chalet.
1-6, 2 minutes left. And Europe's last hope of last year's SI is on the brink of being eliminated. They're on the brink of defeat, and TSM is looking strong. They're looking confident. They're looking like they have everything under control right now, and that must be scary for BDS. They haven't used a single tactical timeout, mind you. That means that LMs should be well in control of the team and should be able to bring them back into a rhythm. But if the rhythm is there, but you're still being outplayed by TSM, what can you do as Shaiko starts it off? A great kill onto Geo. This might be what they need to win a round, but is it enough for the full comeback?
Well, look at this pressure that instantly mounts, and there it is. Achieved asked him before what he's doing, and he's found out being killed. There's the swing around,
there's
the
nail.
pressure, there is the all chat, and now is the man advantage, the time for them to press. They're also able to take care of Alems in the meantime, as well as they steady this hand, this mantle of flat control over the top and the verticality. Renshiro wants to, put a little bit of pressure back up here from the backside of the stairs, swinging and popping and trying to pick something out. But look at the rotation underneath as well. They have 2 stories of this staircase locked off. They have some presence around Fireplace too, and now they've got the diffuser back up, so it's time to start putting the pedal to the metal. Merc with the spray and bowler with the pickup. There it is. One more scratched onto the board as TSM close ever closer to another play, and one more for Merc. It's Rafal locked inside. It's a spray, but it's a TSM room, and it is audibly American in the Palais Brognard.
Managing to shut down BDS, who were some of the tournament favorites, went down to the lower bracket first, and as I said, they were Europe's last hope last year, and now they get knocked out. They're out of the tournament. And it's TSM that prevails. It's TSM in that round that manages to succeed, even though the entry kill was there for